Hello guys, I believe the stream has started. I'm going to open up the chat so that we can communicate properly. And I'm going to send out a couple messages to the Discord letting everyone know that the stream has started. While we wait, I'm probably going to set up just a little bit of music for the background. I want to avoid using that Minecraft kind of copyrighted music that we have going on. But I think this is going to probably be the first build that we rank. Unfortunately, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties at the moment, but we're going to get started properly in a couple minutes. There we go. So hello to Uncle Bai in the chat, Droopy and Raven Snow. Starting with an S tier, Castle Leslie's crazy good. We will have to debate that. I could start lower on the list, but this is just kind of where I was hanging out in the world last time I signed off. Hello to Raven Snow saying first stream. I've never usually been able to get these in time. Yeah, it's hard to try and manage, I guess, an international viewership. But yeah, the way that's going to do, I'm going to try and flip back and forth between this and the actual tier list where we have our builds here down below. These are just a couple of screenshots I took back in December. So they're missing a couple things, but mostly everything's here. The only one I had to add back in was Brewerstown. But hello, the Diamond Dolphin, Wins History, and Sithis. Sithis saying A tier. Okay, I don't know. Guys, do you think we should start with Castle Leslie or should we start with something a little bit more down to earth? Maybe down in like the how low does this list go? Down into the D tier. I think D tier is a fine place to end the list. So yeah, what do you guys think? Should we start with some of the higher things on the list or some of the lower ones? Maybe start with the most recent one, Brewerstown. Let me know in the chat. In the meantime, I am going to open up some music. Actually, never mind. I just realized I can't do that. So here's what we're going to do. Going to get rid of my copyright. And we're going to bring in the Minecraft music just a little bit. Like so. So guys, where should we be starting in Tretogor? I'm going to leave it up to the chat. The Diamond Dolphin saying, I suggest old to new. I think old to new is fair. We are a bit in the older part of the world. So why don't I just increase our flying height, or flying speed a little bit, and start where everything started off in the world. I guess this video is going to act a little bit as a world tour for those of you who didn't watch the last one. Sith is saying, what order are they in the tier list? Kind of random, I think, because they were kind of alphabetical and then they got switched up. So it goes like the Temple, Chan Castel, Summerton, the Portal, Trebor, not Tretogor, the Valley of the Kairens, and then it kind of goes down to like some of the newer ones like Brewerstown. But hello, Callie Sykes saying just got off work. So okay, guys, I think I think that's a fair way to do it. Let's start with the oldest thing in my world, which is Marsh Castle. I like Marsh Castle. I think it's pretty classy, pretty classic. It's a bit more in my fantasy-ish era, not like high fantasy elves and stuff. It's just it's not really like a quite realistic medieval build, I would say. But yeah, it's basically this little castle and a small town in front of it. There's no fields or anything. There's just a little wooden palisade, and it was meant to be like all the people who work in the castle and work like around here all live in this little protected settlement. I think it's pretty cute, kind of charming. Got a little bird's nest thing up here. We have our church, and then down below, here, I'll let us fly through blocks. If we go down, we can see that there is a little cave system underneath where you can actually kind of creep and crawl your way through all the way around and then get to around this area. Whoops, there we go. I think Marsh Castle is pretty nice. I think it's pretty classic, but I don't think it's the best thing we've made in this world by far. I think it would probably go in like a B tier. So I don't know, folks. How do we feel about starting off with a B tier? Sith is agreeing in the chat, also saying B tier. I think B tier is respectable. BA, I'd agree. There we go. All right. So let's find this. And where are we? Where are we? Marsh Castle starting us off, middle of the pack. Zenith and Leah saying agree, agree. All right. The second thing in this world that I built, Raven Snow also agreed. I think this one might be an A tier. So if we come along here from spawn, spawn is that little white statue there. We can pass through these little farms and fields, through this lovely birch forest, and end up at Newport. Now, I recently went back in and added these farms because it used to just be forest. I think with the farms, it's a pretty nice place. We have these lovely copper roofs back when copper first came out. We have this red and blue color design. Tons of color in this place. It is one of the bigger settlements in all of Tretogor, basically. It has like the second highest population. And we have a cool little sort of Byzantine-inspired church here. We also have a castle. This was the start of the Merchants Guild. So this is actually where the Merchants Guild kind of came into being in this world. We have the docks. This is also when I was building a bunch of ships and a really big lighthouse. Sith is saying this is a tough one. I feel like in my heart this place is an A tier. It's not like quite S, but I feel like it's charming. And here let's also consider that underneath we have these sewers. So under Newport we have the only sewer system in Tretogor, basically. And we can go around here. I'm not going to count the sub level because that has its own entry. But yeah, we do have another little dimension of verticality that a lot of my builds I think lack. Leah says A for me. A when you consider the sewers. Newport is probably between A and S, a little bit nearer to A. A tier. I think it's either A tier or a C. Interesting. I see we're avoiding the Bs. And Zenith also saying A tier. Random Gamer saying, yay, I love Newport. All right, I think Newport is an A. I think Newport is an A, guys. I think in the future, I will open up the Discord voice chat. For all of you guys who are in the Discord, you'll know that the voice chat has been disabled for a long time because I didn't want to moderate it at like 4 in the morning to make sure nobody was getting into like a big fight between the Polish and Dutch people in the chat or whatever. On an unrelated note, I'm gonna rank the Newport sublevel at this point. I was thinking high B, low A, but considering the sewers to A is fair. This isn't going chronologically anymore, but this is still part of this kind of area, so I do want to rank it. Down here, we have the Newport sublevel. Now, this build I think is kind of controversial because it's in a really different style to the rest of Tretogor. I tried to go for something just really weird and different when the Pale stuff came out. I was a little bit, I don't want to say burnt out after Regensburg, but I wanted something totally different. So we headed out, or not out, we headed down, and underneath we added this place, which I think is kind of cool, kind of weird. So over here we have the treasury, where we are storing our blocks of netherite. If we loop back around, we can go to the sanctuary, which is a big kind of nether temple, which I think is pretty swanky. Diamond Dolphin saying, I'm pretty sure there's a bot which can moderate voice channels. Especially love the spots that have a good view of the docks. I think and I love this type of stuff. I feel like this. I think we got to take size into account, because I feel like realistically the bigger builds are probably going to get more A's and S's than the smaller builds. But yeah, this is the same way that we have an end portal in the world. I wanted to include a nether portal, so this is it. This is our nether temple underneath Newport. It's actually kind of underneath this farming area. And then we can follow this over here. I was really inspired by the Metro video game series / book series when I was making this. So this is kind of like a Metro tunnel. And then we can go into the hydroponics, which is this green themed room where we're growing like azaleas and jungle leaves and stuff. We have our sugar cane and plants. And I really like this bit. Where is it? Here, where there's like mushrooms growing out of the chest. I feel like this is a cool place, but it's not like peak Tretogor. The prehistory parts of Tretogor are some of my favorites for the lore. Are you gonna do any nether projects? I don't think I'm ever gonna build in the nether. I kind of hate like the nether fog and the ghast, and the terrain is just, I don't know, kind of a nightmare. Really out of the box, A tier. What do you guys think? Some people are saying gas, some people are saying A tier. If you guys are wondering, it kind of comes out underneath this birch hill, and then there's a small path that takes us back to over here, which is underneath Marsh Castle where the bandits are. I'll give it C because it kind of doesn't make sense. Fair enough. I think it's not one of my favorite builds. I like it just because it's like weird, but also the fact that it's weird and kind of empty doesn't lend it to having a lot of life. So the Newport sublevel. I'm gonna wait for a couple more comments, and the next place we're gonna rank is probably the copper mines. Not feeling the sewers. Upper level is nice, but lower is C or D. Fair enough. I think C tier is probably fair. Unless anybody has any last minute objections to make. And a gamer saying A tier is a fair tier. Callie Sykes saying I agree. Okay, I think this is probably gonna get like a good C tier. Somewhere I have a picture of this. There we go. Sub-level C overall. Yeah, I think that's fair, guys. If we follow this little road here, we can get to one of the smaller builds in Tretogor, which is this kind of suburb of Newport that is the copper mines. Copper mines are cool. I wish this world had more mines. I want to do like a big iron mining town at some point, I think. And you can see why I kind of don't use live animals anymore, and I use like the no AI ones, because they just jumped way too much. But yeah, over here we have this big central smelting area. We have this place for the workers to sleep and live. A little cart here on the side. Here we're storing our copper. And over here we have a little hangout space. That area is just for storing our tools, and then we can actually get down in here, and you can see where we're kind of punching holes in the mines. And the only places you find copper are down at the end of these. Hey, there's a chicken. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, the only place you find copper is down like at the end of these little veins, and I like the rails and the mine carts and stuff. I think this is a cool little place. Probably also C tier in my opinion. Like if we compare this to Marsh Castle, which is also a B, I don't think this is quite Marsh Castle. The overly encouraging horse. They are overly. See, he's sticking through the roof. Like it just ruins the vibe. especially when you're trying to take screenshots and you find out that the horses in your screenshot are all jumping midair. The chicken jockey yearns for the mines. I think it's mostly B or C tier, but it's an incredible build. Copper mines is immediate A for me. I enjoy the little mines. Have you thought about making more cave stuff? I have thought about making more cave stuff. I thought about it halfway through Brewerstown, which is why there's a big cave under Brewerstown. But yes, I'm always down to do more caves. I think a desert cave would be really cool. Um, People asked me like a few months ago if I was going to terraform the desert, and the answer at the time was maybe. I think the answer now is probably yes. I just need to get to it. I'm getting some C's and B's. People saying they find it cute. I also got a couple of A's. I think I think this is probably around C. I think like by itself, it's just not got a ton going on, but it is cool. I would personally, I feel like I would rank it above the Newport sublevel. Yeah, it's cozy, but not as impressive as the others. I agree. If we continue with our chronology, the next big thing on our list is going to be Medina. So coming through this swamp here, up and around. Oh, I added grass. I added the dry grass that we got in this newest update. And let me know, by the way, guys, how my audio level is or how it is compared to the game, if it's too loud or too quiet. But Medina is really cool. It's one of my favorite places. I think it just rocks. We have this kind of vineyard out front. We have our stables, except instead of a normal stables, this one has camel and llama and a couple donkeys. We have some sheep out here. A little bit of a dock area with this big wheel churning around that pulls the water up and into the town so everybody can get clean drinking water. We have all these custom palm trees that I did before I was using like commands or anything. And these lovely kind of aqueduct inspired sandstone walls that go around the whole town. Coming down around here, we also have the pottery area as well as the dye works, which I came in and added a couple months ago. Minecraft music. Yeah, so I think this place is pretty snazzy, pretty snazzy. Video cut off. Okay, hold on. Footage stuck. Why is footage stuck? What happened? Why did my footage get stuck? Oh, the joys of live streaming. Okay, we're back. Okay. It got unstuck. Okay. Don't quit on me yet, folks. Medina got sabotaged. Okay, we'll do a fly around. We'll do a fly around. This is Medina. This is a big, beautiful city. Like I was saying, we have some vineyards, custom palm trees and stables and stuff, little farms around. Not a big farming place, evidently. They're more into pottery. That's their big economics thing. That's why they have this pottery banner. We have this chain system that pulls water into the city, and we have some garlands and banners around town. Making everything just nice, bright, colorful, a lot of glazed terracotta. I think it's a really nice place. We have all these kind of pottery digging up areas here on the side of the rivers. And we have this dye works explaining why we have all those like colored banners and stuff. I included this really colorful rainbow room. If we come around here, we can see this kind of I don't know how to explain it. Like this, I don't know. I really like the vibe, especially the places where you can see the sand is kind of contained by these retaining walls. You have these pots, these big kilns, putting smoke into the air. I think it's a good vibe. YouTube cut off again. Okay, what's going on? Something's happening. Oh, I figured it out, guys. I know what the issue is. Hold on. I'm just waiting for the stream to upload to update. I think I know what the issue is. Is it updating? It is not updating. There we go. Okay, sorry. The issue is I restarted my laptop, and whenever it switches to my GPU, the game stops recording the actual Minecraft tab, but it only happens when it's in like full screen mode. If it's not in full screen, it's fine. Okay, so in the chat though, I'm seeing some people saying S or A or S. Consider Medina an S. I really love desert builds. I think desert builds are great, especially in Tretogor. There aren't a ton of desert builds. There's only like 2.5. Yeah. Okay. So why does it look like the stream is bugged again? Oh, because I was just reading comments. That's why. Sorry, guys. There's a delay on between like YouTube and my part. S tier, A tier. Okay, guys. I want a consensus. Are we voting S? I think we're voting S. Very creative, S tier. All right. This is our first S tier. Where is it? There we go. The lovely city of Medina. Around the same time as this, I did the Temple of Fertility. So if we do a hop and a skip through the desert, we can go through this big dragon skull or skeleton, come around here, past some camels, and here it is. So this is a reconstructed desert temple in Minecraft. It's actually just a real desert temple. I think I've mentioned that before, but you can see it's just a normal thing. I just put the torch down here for fun. It still has the original loot. I haven't plundered it yet. But yeah, we come in here. We have this lovely kind of area. I was going for a little bit of a mosque themed thing with these prayer carpets, but it's also kind of whatever, I guess. I don't think this place is like an S tier or anything, but I think it's kind of charming. We have a couple of bell towers, and we can see that there are a bunch of offerings out front. I think I might put a sniffer egg out here just for fun. I love how it's by the coral water. I really like desert builds. I think this is a good C. Hello, big fan of all your videos. I like how you incorporate real life logic into Minecraft builds. Thank you. I definitely try. I mean, I guess I've been playing this game long enough that I've kind of grown into somebody who tries to think about like the real life implications of stuff. And this is paired with the Tomb of Kings. So if we go through this little graveyard here, we can come down into this chamber. We have a lovely black and gold pattern here, a bunch of pots, fire going, and we have some bones, a sarcophagus, and we have this spell. I take on the cloak of Ra and drive back 8 crocodiles with a spear. Get back, you crocodile of the west who lives under unweary stars. Detestation of you is in my belly, for I have taken the power of Osiris, and I am Seth. Your flame will not be on me. Let there be prepared for me a seat upon the boat of the sun, on the day whereon the gods sail. Have chewed the bones of a putrid cat. Thoth is the protection of all my flesh. O Rerek, snake, begone from me, for Geb protect me. Get up, for you have eaten a mouse, which Ra detests and you. I think this place is cool. That's a real spell from the Egyptian Book of the Dead. I wanted to include it in here. Because, you know, Egyptians were into spells and stuff to protect themselves, and I think this is the vibe that we're channeling here. Getting a lot of C tiers, I love the renovations you've done, but because it's a generated structure, gotta go D. This fits well in C, probably a D or a C, low C. Fair enough, folks. I think it's gonna be probably the lowest C. I think we gotta include both the temple and the Tomb of Kings because they're kind of a joint package. But that is going to do it for the desert stuff for a while. This is all stuff that I built like like Medina and stuff. Medina, Newport, Marsh Castle. This is all stuff I built in 2020 and 2021, basically, which is cool. It's been a while. The interior looks a bit messy. Fair enough. I want to fly over now and show you guys the next thing that I built. Kind of when I was working on Newport, the chronology of this stuff is a bit messy, but here we are at Marsh Castle. This is a bandit fort in an old ruined castle, and I think this place is kind of neat. So we have a bandit banner here, and we have all these cobwebs and stuff. We take a little fly around. You'll see it's on this pretty high hill, just above this little river valley. So it's got a great position. It was only ever a small castle, so I'll explain. Basically, it had a court, not a courtyard. It had a gatehouse here. Over here were the stables made out of stone. Here we had the main kind of feast hall slash bedroom area. Over here we had a little cellar and a kitchen on the side. And then over here we had some bedrooms and fortifications in this tower. Now that it's taken over by bandits, they have kind of camped out in this part. You can see some weapons and stuff, a little bit of fire going. And over here, they have put up a couple ladders that they can get a good view of anybody who's coming up the hill to attack them. Hello, Smiley. A good B or C for me. Yo, I love ruins. Kind of reminds me of stuff you can find in Assassin's Creed. The idea is cool. I'd give it a B. Will you upload the stream to YouTube? Yes. Yeah. All my streams can be found on YouTube. You just gotta dig a little bit, I guess. But the last bit I want to mention is all around we have this kind of hole that goes around like most of the castle, and that's because there used to be a wooden palisade, like a wooden wall, and it was one of the first things that rotted away. So even though the stones are still mostly here, all the wood stuff is gone. So that's why you kind of get these holes. Also in the corners here, there were wooden posts holding up this room basically. So yeah, I think it's a cool place. Random Gamer saying this is a C. Zenith, the spyglass is cute. I like the ruin theme and how bandits took it over. Yeah, it's the bandits who are operating underneath of Marsh Castle. Basically, it's like one little kind of consortium. I like how it shows that Tretogor has aged over time. Yeah, it's basically what if Marsh Castle was like a couple hundred years older. Reminds me of The Witcher. C because it's too small and too close to the castle. Fair enough. Packed with detail, high B. All right, guys, let's get a consensus in the chat. I'm seeing some B's and some C's. So what do we think, guys? Is this leaning more like a low B or a high C? David, Bruce, and Leah saying B. I think this is going to be getting some more B's, getting a C from Raven Snow. Sithis, the holes in the ground for removed wooden palisades is just gold world building. C or a high B, low B. I think low B. I think low B is the consensus. So it's going to go after Marsh Castle, but still a little bit higher than some places. Let's mosey on over to another old build in this world. So over here is the Summerton Fields. This is still the biggest farming town I've built, basically. And I think it's really cool. So we had this lava pool that just kind of spawned here, and I decided that I wanted to renovate it. Kind of like the Temple of Fertility. I wanted to work with the natural features of Minecraft instead of like totally removing them. I didn't mention it, but Medina used to be a village. It used to be a village on the hill. And Medina started off as a village upgrade project. And eventually it just got upgraded to the point where you couldn't even see the original village. And I just said, screw it. It's just going to be a cool desert town. Hello, Sman Sam. And Random Gamer. A little biased because I really love the ruin builds. It's a good B or C for me. I love the wheat fields. I love like I think these are probably my favorite wheat fields that I've done. I think they're just really classic. Summerton is one of the really new builds, like um from a world building perspective, so it's still being constructed actually. Over here you can see that there's still building some of these farmhouses. There's a little conciliation cross here because I was playing Kingdom Come Deliverance around that time. We have some basic farmhouse designs, so kind of a semi-separated space. We come outside, we got some vegetable gardens, our wheat fields. Over here we have a big stud farm. So here is where we are breeding the best horses in this part of Tretogor. Got a nice white horse here, little area here for some hay and stuff. I kind of like that little design. It's a cool shape. We can fly around here. There's a big old barn, and this belongs to this castle. So I wanted to build something like a manor house that doesn't have big, strong walls. I wanted it to be like just little hedges. If they get attacked by bandits, like they're probably screwed. It's mostly just the idea that this is like where all the important buildings are clustered. So we have this little flower bed here, a little chicken coop. We have our kitchen. I haven't actually been in this building in like years. I forgot what it looked like. Over here we have a pantry. Then if we fly over, that's our stables. Here is a feast hall with a big dangling garland. And then up here we have a couple of bedrooms. By the way, let me know in the chat if it bothers you that I fly through buildings, because I can do this in like normal creative mode too. It goes a bit faster this way than trying to find the door all the time. And then over here we just have a little bit of a fishing area, fishing nook. All right, let's get back to the chat. Summerton is one of my favorites. Makes Medina even cooler. This place is pretty simple, but I like the angle build. What's the most time-consuming build yet? Regensburg by far. Regensburg took me 8 months, basically. I started Regensburg last May, and I ended it beginning of December, basically, or end of November, effectively. No, December. Yeah, so May to December for a single Minecraft build, which is crazy. Banger, high B, maybe even an A, high B. I think C tier. Just not as impactful as some of the other builds. High B, C, B. I really appreciate being able to see the place's resources originate from. B, B, A. All right, I'm getting some mixed responses, but I think this one is also going to be a low B based on the chat. I got a couple C's and a couple A's, but I think I'm mostly getting B's around here. So why don't we kick it on over and see. I think it probably goes between these two. A little bit more big and impactful than the ruins, but not quite as, I'd say, cool as the castle here. I just realized I didn't show any of the interiors for this place. That's my bad. That's totally on me. Okay, why don't we continue on and I'll show you guys. This one was built a little bit later, but we're on the way. We're going to fly over it anyway. So I think we can rank it now before we get anywhere. This is Greenfield. Greenfield basically was created because there's this big weird plains biome in the middle of this dark oak forest. And I thought to myself, well, this is a good place to show where they're getting their wood from for all those dark oak buildings. So over here we have this big old field where they're cutting down the trees. And then here we have the place for the loggers. So there's about 8 people who are kind of working out here at the moment. You can see they have like a big log sled and a couple of horses to pull it, barrel of apples, little toilet, and this kind of ramshackle fence around just to keep out like wild animals and stuff. Every build in this world is great. It's difficult to rank them. Trying to rank everything relative to my favorite build. What's your favorite build, Sithis? I think this is a C or a low B. Yeah, I would give this place like a C or a D. Just because there's not much going on. I think it's a necessary thing to have empty builds in your world, but being empty also kind of makes it necessarily not the most interesting. This did become like a really big crossroads, though. It wasn't meant to be. Originally, this road just went from like Summerton to Stoneheart, and then we built Regensburg, so there's like a road through here, and then we built stuff over there, so now there's a road there, and then we built stuff over that way, and now there's a road that way, and it just kind of became like the geographic center of the world. I think this may be a low B, D tier, C. Feel bad for ranking anything D, C. I think here. I'm not sure what the name is, but it's the one you're supposed to view from that one specific diagonal angle. Oh yeah, Castle Leslie. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Uh, what do we say, guys? Is this a C tier or a D tier? Something has to be in D. I think inevitably. Um, but I'll kind of get a couple more responses from the chat. Is this more of a C or a D? D leans more toward D. All right, I think D is fine. D tier is still a pass. Nothing wrong with a D tier. D's get degrees. Let's continue on, and I'll take us just a little bit further down the road to wait. Do I have a photo for this? Hold on, let me see something. I do not. Okay. This is Red Lake, Rose Lake, Red Lake. I think it's Red Lake. It's just a little ruined town that got flooded. So there's a couple of houses here where you can see they're kind of. This used to just be like a dip where there'd be like fertile soil or whatever. So people built their houses next to like where the fertile land was. And then the river kind of broke through a little dirt barrier and just flooded the place. And now we just have some little berries and stuff left where it looks like they used to have a little farm. Hello, Ultra Natural Bridge. Or hello, Sabrina Picciano. I never knew this place existed. Yeah, I don't really show it much because there's just not much going on. It's just to kind of fill space between Stoneheart and like where other stuff was. Over here, that we have a little hunter's place, so you can see he's storing a little bit of rabbit. I should come back and do this with a display entity actually. And back here, he is kind of treating the hides. But yeah, we will. This is not a new build. This is way old. Basically, from around when I built Dewberry. So Dewberry is another, I think, cute little build. This one is inspired by White Orchard in The Witcher 3, for anybody who has played that game. Basically, this is the mirror to Summerton. So Summerton was all about wheat fields. This one was all about what can you grow in Minecraft that isn't wheat. So this guy is the carrot farmer. This one here is the honey guy. You see he has a little bit of honey in here. And he got some flowers to kind of justify it. Hey, there's a bee. Hello, bee. This one here is for beets. And this is the tavern. And then that one is just for pumpkins, which I learned after I did this, like years after, that pumpkins are a New World crop, which I didn't know before. So I might come back and replace it with melons. Dewberry is nice. B tier town. What was the first build in the world? That was Marsh Castle, which is the first one that we ranked today. Reminds me of Butcher's Creek. Yeah, I see the vibe. Not wheat or potatoes. Thinking a high C tier for Dewberry. I think that's fair. This place is cool too. I tried to make it look like there were like old thatch roofs. The thatch roofs are still really hard to show in Minecraft, guys. We've come like a bit of a way since this style was popular, but it ain't easy. Anyway, we can go into the kind of tavern here and see. This is the Dewberry flag. Got a couple of paintings up here just to represent like wall drawings. There actually are a couple of bedrooms here if people want to stay the night. If we come over here, there's a little bakery here that opens up every morning, where we can get our fresh bread. A much happier version of Butcher's Creek. C, B tier, C or B. I think I'm getting some C tiers here. This one also kind of became a crossroads now, because it goes to Regensburg, Stoneheart, back to the rest of the world, and now it goes up to around there. You can see there's a little road that kind of continues, because that goes to the fort and to Whaler's Wharf, which I'm not going to rank because it's not done. C or B. Here, where is our Dewberry? I think it's high C. I think that's the vibe I'm getting from the chat. Nobody said A, and nobody said D. So I think that's about it. I think that's about right. Also in this area, we have... Oh, thank you, Random Gamer. I feel like I've gotten better over the years, but I've also kind of... I appreciate the older builds for their charm, you know? So this is the Valley of the Kairens. For anybody who has read The Lord of the Rings or Song of Ice and Fire, these are the barrows of the world. So over here we have a bunch of these little mounds that have Lily of the Valley on them. And if we snake around, we can get to a couple of these bigger mounds. This one collapsed, but this one is still open. We can fly in here. Obviously it's locked off if you're in survival mode. There's another one here. That's weird. I don't know what happened with that. And if we come around to this part, you can see that this is the biggest one. There is a little sword here, and if I turn my brightness all the way down, you can see that the sword shines because it is in a glow item frame. So it kind of looks like the light is hitting it through the door and making like the sword glimmer, which I think is a really cool effect. We're keeping the brightness up though, just because I don't want to make the video hard to see for the stream. Simple but adds so much depth to the world. Yeah, I think this is a cool place. I mean, it was basically to fill space because I wanted the world to feel a lot bigger, and I didn't want to build like 100 bajillion houses to do it. But like in hindsight, years later, this would have been a great place for a town. But you know, at the time, I just wanted it to be full of something. So yeah, this is the vibe. And it's pretty simple. Astro Tank, you should make Bombadil's house in the woods. I do have a hermit house. There is a hermit house, but it's like all the way over by Sarneville. It's not around here. B, maybe a C. Good C. What do we think in the chat, guys? Good C? It's pretty simple. It's mostly just a couple of dirt circles in the ground, to be honest. I think it adds a nice vibe to the world, but there isn't a ton going on. Kind of like Greenfield. Strong B, B tier, B or C. Astro Tank saying C. I think this is going to be a C tier. The question is where in C tier? I don't think... To me, it's not as cool as a place like Dewberry. Are people still being buried there? I think probably yes. I wish the road led somewhere. Oh, the road leads places. The roads always lead places. There's no dead ends. Well, I mean, they're dead ends at like houses or whatever. Compared to the copper mines, I don't know, guys. Okay, compared to what we have in C tier, is it more toward like Dewberry and the copper mines, or is it more toward like the sub level and the temple? What are we feeling in C tier? Mid-sea. All right, mid-sea. We'll plop it right there. Going back, I'm gonna get food. All right. Um. So all of these roads lead to little cairns, except for this road, which leads to that one above the temple, around the same as the copper mine. Okay, I think we're all mostly in agreement. So the next thing that I built, well, not next, kind of before this stuff, but it's in a weird part of the world to show off first. We're getting into Castle Stoneheart. Uh, Another one of the really cool big white castles in this world. So we can come through here. This little old ruined wall. You know, Castle Stoneheart maybe has seen better times. Here we have a little guard outpost. Just a couple of beds and a chest. You know, it's not a nice place to be stationed in the world, but it's something. What is with all these white blocks? Okay, hold on. Some kind of mod broke in my world, because that's not supposed to be happening. There shouldn't be little white blocks everywhere. I don't know what's up with that. Um, have you used Distant Horizons mod in this world before? I have. I don't really like Distant Horizons, guys, because here's my deal, right? This is Castle Stoneheart, and if I want, I can. Whoops. I can take a screenshot and you can see nothing behind it. It's just beautiful, pure blue sky. If I had Distant Horizons, you could see that like 400 blocks away there's a savanna, and the savanna is ugly and it doesn't fit the vibe. So then I'd have to edit out the savanna or start building like a huge mountain behind it, which would suck. This way I get to control what you see when you see it. It's just a better vibe for me, especially as somebody who has to make like YouTube thumbnails now. Herobrine. I have no idea what those are. I think they seem to be around where I was placing flowers. Look, there's another one though that's in a tree. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I'm looking for them now. I'm looking at them I'm looking out for them in the corner of my eye. Okay, back to the point. This place is called the Quiet Vale. We got just a couple houses here, pretty far apart. Just a little few farmhouses. This place is butting up against Brewerstown, so we have a little bit of a no man's land between the two. This is the end of our territory over here, and basically this is the start of their territory over here. If we come around though, we can see that there is a little staircase kind of chiseled into the cliff wall. Over here, this takes us to the old quarry. My quarries are a little bit more interesting now than they were back in the day, I'll be honest. And there's also a little church, or a little kind of chapel thing down here, which I think is pretty cool. I wanted something that looks like a cross. It doesn't really look like a cross, I'll be honest. Hold on. Screw it, we're doing a totem. There we go. And then over here is the actual Castle Stoneheart. So the castle itself, we have this area down here, which is like the kind of castle town, sort of like Marsh Castle. This is where our church is. This is where our blacksmith is and our dog kennel. Also, there's a bit of a horse stables there with a bit of a granary. Then we have this kind of middle battlement section, which is where a lot of the town castle guards sleep. In this place, we go up this big bridge here, and this is the throne room, inspired by Game of Thrones, of course. We have our big black iron throne. And over here is the castle itself, and this is where everything happens, basically. We also have a little bit of a tidal pool down there, which I think is kind of snazzy. Ravensnow saying, where are we? We are west of Dewberry and west of Summerton and that kind of area. next to Brewerstown. We also kind of terraformed this area a little bit to be able to put in a greenhouse, which I think is pretty cool. And I think this castle is a kind of an interesting shape. It's a bit funky, but it's a bit cool, and I really dig it. I think I kind of flexed my muscles a little bit with this one. If we go into the main room, we can see that we have this kind of nice white and brown style with a lot of color in here. There is a sub-level that's like about cooking. So this is like cooking, extra storage. Whoops, my mouse died. Okay, hold on. There's also, whoops, there's like barrels and stuff here. It's a pretty cool place. And then down below, this is mostly bedrooms for like servants and stuff. And then down below, we have a prison cell down in a cave. This place sucks. You don't want to be caught down here. We also have an elevator to bring goods up into this level. And we can come out to the sea, or to the lake, basically. All right, so let's look at what people are saying. This fills the space well, so well, I gotta give it an A. Castle is so nice too, maybe even an S. S tier, A, S, A, S, A. Not my favorite. I'll give it a B or a low A. Love the layers this place has. Thank you, thank you. I'm seeing some S's and I'm seeing some A's. I think this place is, I don't know. I really like this angle of looking at the castle where you get to see like the whole structure and the way it kind of takes up the space. It's a cool place. I got a lot of S's and I got a lot of A's. So why don't we go in and compare what's in each tier? So going in, we can see that S tier is Medina and A tier is Newport, which I think is fair. David Bruce is saying S, low S, low. We can do a low S. We'd also put it above Newport as a high A, low A. Diagonals really make this build shine. I'm getting some. The lowest I've seen here is a low A, and the highest I've seen is an S. So I think probably high A is the move. I think that's about the middle of what people are ranking this place. This was basically, hold on. Above Newport, maybe? Yeah, I think above Newport is fair. This is basically every. Oh, hold on. Anchorage. I forgot Anchorage. Hold on. We're gonna go. My mouse disappeared. I've been having some issues with my mouse and this laptop for some reason. I can't find my mouse. Okay, we're gonna fly. I really need to increase my speed here. Hold on. This is not going well. Okay, we're flying over Regensburg. We're gonna get there someday, guys, I swear. There we go. Okay. Here we are. So just a stone's throw away from Newport, we have Anchorage. Anchorage is cool. Anchorage has a bunch of fishing boats. Got kind of like a Viking-y vibe going on, but it's not over the top. It's just very low key. I think we're flying too fast, but I can't. Oh, it froze again, didn't it? Okay. That's my bad. I full screened it again. We're good, don't worry. We're good. So, this is Anchorage. You can see we have a little bit of a ruined area here. Oh, and I didn't really notice this. We have one of the old amethyst geodes back when they were still using tough. Because I generated parts of this world in like 117. The early 117 snapshots, I mean. We have a little ruined boat here. Got a couple, got a dock with a couple boats synced up here. Um, Place where we're smoking some fish. Pretty snazzy. If we come over here, we have a little boat building area with the dry docks. We have a general store. Pretty cramped, but I enjoy a cramped general store. I think it's a pretty good vibe. Back here is just a bit of storage. And then over here we have the main castle part, and we have this little hook-shaped area. This place is cozy. I like the grass roofs. Good B for me. Oh, and this place marks the second appearance so far of the Newport Merchants Guild. So they paid to have this stone dock constructed here. And if we come inside, you can see that they have a little kind of hangout area, kitchen, and upstairs a couple of very simplistic bedrooms. But I like the idea that there's a place in here that completely doesn't fit the vibe, like because it was built by a different culture basically, and they didn't really care what the vibe was. They just wanted something that felt like home to them. If we come around here, you see there is a tiny chapel with a cross sign. This is the only glass in this build is those two panes over there. Here we have a little bit of a captain's hall. This is the bedroom. Whoops. Closet. And there's some stuff down there. B. How do you keep track of your lore? Um, I don't know. I mean, most of my lore, like I used to have lore for this place. It doesn't matter. I don't know. I was like, uh, the seat of House Farwind of whatever, because I was copying Game of Thrones. You get it. I don't care about any of that stuff anymore. I don't know who lives here. It doesn't matter to me who lives here. What does matter to me is that this place is Anchorage. It's called Anchorage. They build boats here. They do fishing. They're not really big into farming, but they have adopted Christianity. Mostly they trade with Newport because they're like really close. And yeah, they have grass roofs because it's just a good insulator. I mean, most of the lore is in the build itself. Hi B, love the banner with the anchor. Thank you. Getting some Bs. So why don't we see where we can rank this in B tier? Where is our Anchorage? There we go. Um, I think Anchorage probably is like a high B, not like the highest B. Um, but yeah, I think probably above Summerton. I don't know. Maybe you guys prefer the whole farming vibe. Um, but I enjoy a good fishing town. I enjoy a good kind of Viking inspired fishing town. Probably above the ruins at least. Yeah, it's above the ruins. And I think with that, we have done all of the really old places in the world. I'll show you what I think is actually the worst like build in this world. It is this. It is the sea temple. There was just a sea temple here, and I didn't really know what to do with it, so I put a buoy just so that people didn't hit it with their boats. And I came down here and I did a bit of a like a renovation, added some copper and stuff, changed that out for diamond. That's about it. This is the build. This is an F tier. Dang. Okay, sorry. That's my bad, guys. That's my bad. Top one in the B tier, the world building is and top one in the B tier, the world building and interesting uses of blocks is what puts it there for me. Don't worry, guys. It's unfrozen. I will probably do that at least one more time by accident. Um, it's just issues with my laptop right now because I have it on the wrong setting, but I can't really end the stream. Um, but yeah, since you guys didn't see it, this is the temple. Basically, this is all the interior work I did. I closed off some walls, and then I put in some diamond and copper, and I called it a day. Plus this little buoy up here. So yeah, it's not much going on. I'll show you another old build in this world. So this place, hold on, we'll get there, we'll get there. We'll get there. This is Evergreen. And you can see I came in here just like literally yesterday and I added in some fireflies. I also came back in here a couple months ago and I added a little fishing, not fishing, a little kind of a little dock here basically so that we can run boats between over here and over there for Regensburg. Just in case you don't want to travel through town, you can basically like take little boats to and fro along the river. Yeah, it is a little lazy. I don't mind you saying it all. I never had a good idea for what to do with it. I didn't want to just tear it down, but that's why I haven't made a video on it at any point. But this place is cool, I think. So you got a couple of little things in the water here to keep up the bridge. I mean, got this mossy vibe going around. I made a video on this like a while ago, and I made a follow-up video explaining my process and how this used to be. This used to have a wooden palisade around it in a flat world, and then I rebuilt it here. No wooden palisade, changed around a few things, and bada bing, bada boom. So if we come in here, there is a little door, there is a big door, and then you can just open this up if you want to see who's coming in. We have our big evergreen tree here, a couple of horses kicking around. Over here we have our granary. This place is for, whoops, kind of storage, kind of defense, a bit of firewood, a couple of arrow loops. We have a well. Whoops, sorry. I'm flying too fast now. This area is for guards. So we have our kind of guard hangout area. That's my bad. We have a guard armory area. And then this is where the guards sleep. And then up here, we just have a very small kitchen. Sorry, a very small dining area, a little kitchen, and there's a bedroom up there. What's the password? Yeah. Swamp Castle is really cool. A tier, solid fort design, A, high B. For me, it's a solid high A, high B. All right, all right. I see people vibe with it. Um, if I could go back and change a couple things, I'd probably change these roofs up a little bit because they're a little bit wonky at the moment. But I think it's cool, and you can kind of go along this little wall walk. Oh, um, this is kind of the start of my laundry thing. I think this is the first place in the world that has like a proper laundry area. So that's something. So what do we think, guys? I think I was seeing some high B's, low A's. I'm gonna pop in. Low A, not quite as impressive as the other A's, but super well put together. All right, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Mid B, A, high A. Okay, I think the vibe I got from trying to average out you guys' comments is something around there. So it's at the lowest point in A. Okay. Whoop. Hold on, it froze again. I know. I know. Don't tell me. Okay, if we fly back, we can get to some new stuff that I was building in this world when I came back in after like a multiple, like 2 year hiatus, basically. And this place is the Rosewood Port. There's 22 people in this chat. So I think statistically, one of you is probably a Rosewood Port colonist in the Discord. 'Cause I know I do have a couple of Rosewood Port fans. But yeah, this is the Rosewood Port. It wasn't going to be ruined, but I started building it, and then I got burnt out, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do interiors, so I just ruined it. And I was like, great, now I don't have to do interiors. But yeah, so you come down here. There's this little kind of port area. You can see there's like some stuff at the bottom here. It's overgrown, really. A little bit of a storage thing. Over here, we had this little kind of fisherman's house. Basically, the idea is that this place got ruined, kind of not ruined, abandoned very slowly. So people left like really heavy stuff and they took what they could carry. So there's no like rotten food or anything. It wasn't that kind of evacuation. It was just like people gave up, you know? They just didn't want to be here anymore. So here you can see they left like an old furnace, a chest that was empty, and a bookshelf with no books. Over here, you can see same kind of thing, an old basket that wasn't being used, furnace, and just a couple pieces of wood here, kind of indicating there's probably a table. Shaping of the tower windows are really well done. Thank you. There is a bit of a well in town, and there was an old inn, the Seven Cats Inn, another Witcher 3 reference. Up here, you can see a couple beds. The hole is the floor is falling through, so maybe watch your step. And this is what kicked off the decline. So there was a fire, and you know the church burnt down. Basically, this was an old church tower. Church burnt down, and then people kind of got tired of living here. There wasn't a sense of community anymore the way that there used to be, because people couldn't like meet up and hang out like every Sunday at church. And this is like the big community place. I don't know if you guys noticed. There's no like town hall here. This was it. This was where people would be as a community, and then that went away, and people just kind of slowly started leaving. Because it was a colony, basically. That's why it's called like the Rosewood Port colonists. There's no like indigenous population right here. This is literally just people who tried to make a living and couldn't cut it. Um, then in here, you can see there's just a bit of a ruined tower. This level is for fortifications. There's a couple squatters right here, um, but that's about it. Um, I'd put it as a B, like the storytelling, maybe a B, high B, B. The idea of building a half-built building is top tier. Love the church detail. BRB cycling home. Oh, damn. Okay, good luck. It's raining where I am. I went to the supermarket. I got rained on. There was thunder. It wasn't very pleasant. Pretty on par with the last build at a low A. Okay, guys. Respectable, respectable. I'm getting some high Bs, low As. Kind of like how it's not a ruined bandit camp, but it's still pretty messed up. Yeah, this is it's one of the things I like showing in my world is like different levels of degradation, and not every place is on par. This place only became abandoned like a few years back, basically. Low B, C. I think this is a B. That's the vibe I'm getting from the comments. Okay, so if we come through it, somewhere here, I have it, I swear. There it is. I'm gonna put it a high B. I think high B is fair. Maybe above Marsh Castle, unless you guys think I should bump it down a slot. But I think this is a pretty good spread so far. You see a lot of B's and C's, but I think that's to be expected. A lot of people want to vote kind of in the middle. And then we can kick it on over to Sound of Id. Now, I will tell you guys, I'm building something new at Sound of Id, which I will very briefly show off as kind of a spoiler. But it's gonna have its own video probably in like 2 weeks, like early May, before I go on my trip. Actually, before we do that though, I have to rank this because I did put a picture of it in the tier list, and you guys are gonna ask. Um, this is the ruined portal. So I wanted to make some. I wanted an end portal in my world, basically. I was like, okay, well, how can we do that? Let's put a portal and then do a bunch of these weird skulk mushrooms. These were inspired by, I think it is Shara Nam on Instagram. I think she had some mushroom designs like a couple years back. I kind of made it my own, but it was, Bexel is on here. It's just not going to be ranked for a little while because it's one of the more recent builds. We decided to go chronologically. But here it is. Here is the portal, as it's called, and I put in a couple of these pitcher plants. That's kind of cool. Okay, I dig it. I dig it. Kind of a D tier for me. Low C, D. I think that's fair. It's a very small build. This took me like 3 hours, I think. It's in the swamp. Yeah, I think this is very different vibe from the rest of the world. I'd say it's a D or a C. Fair enough. I think this is probably going to be a D tier. I think C tier. I'm a big fan of the concept, but it's a much smaller scale. I'd say D. Okay, I think that's fair. That scared the hell out of me. My phone. I had my phone across the room. Yeah, perhaps would work more in a cave. Fair enough. It also looks pretty cool at night. Hold on. Hold on. Because it has those glow. Whoops. Sorry, froze. Because it has those glow mushroom things. At night, you just get like this big dark swamp, and then this little patch of light here. Reminds me of Blackreach. Yeah, Blackreach vibes. This place is cool. Anyway, I'll I'll get away so that we stop getting our ears attacked. What time set time? No. Time set day. There we go. Okay, okay. Now we can take it on to Sarnivil. So Sarnivil is there. And because I have to address it, elephant in the room, yes, there is a new castle. I'm gonna save this one for an interior decoration video. So I want to make a video on how I decorate my interiors, and it's gonna be like a how-to guide. Basically the 10, kind of like a 10-step process to how you can decorate an interior. There's a bit of a vineyard over there going up to a grape squishing place. It's a cool thing, but we're not showing it off today. We're not ranking it today. It doesn't count. Oh, it froze again. My bad. My bad. Okay. Random gamers, is there a path to this, or is this in the middle of nowhere? There is a path. Oh, to here? Yeah, there's a path. Um, you can follow it basically from Anchorage to that statue. You go through the woods to that Viking house, through the desert. You get to the Rosewood Port, and then there's a little path that goes to the mushrooms. Okay, this is the castle I was talking about. It's a French chateau style. It's a little bit more modern than most of my builds, but I've been leaning kind of more modern anyway. You guys know this. The past few builds I've made have mostly been leaning kind of away from medievally. Um, so I'm saving that for the interior video. There is a vineyard that leads up to a grape crushing place over there, and that's the winery basically. It's gonna be called Le Manoir du Lac, the the manor on the lake. And yeah, I know some people have asked me for interiors and stuff like how I make mine. How do I, like what's the process? So I wanted to kind of go through and explain it, and try to make it like kind of educational. So Sarneville is kind of this original building kind of area, and then I came through and I built one, two, three, four farms, and I built this little gatehouse for the region, and now I'm building this. So Sarneville kind of just keeps growing. because it was in the middle of nowhere, so there's just all this empty space around it where I can build. But anyway, you come across this little bridge here. You go past the Lilac Isle Meadery, kind of a Skyrim reference, kind of just whatever. Cool custom tree. Then we have the city itself, inspired by Mont Saint Michel in France. I think it's really cool. It's one of the few places that has paved streets, and it's got kind of like a more moderny vibe, a little bit post medieval, but it's not like specifically post medieval. It's just kind of how things ended up. We can fly around to this side, and you can see there's a bit of a ravine running here. And if we continue back around, we can get to the beginning here. So flying through this bridge, you get to this kind of like back alley-ish area, because the main street is on the other side of this. So this is kind of the back of the main street. But here we have the guardhouse, no entry, a couple of toilets. This is a cool tower, because it has no roof, which I think is, I don't think we do enough towers with no roofs in Minecraft, frankly. Or no, like, yeah, there's no ceiling. Like this one is also inspired by kind of Mont Saint Michel and what I saw there. Hold on, that's not placed how I want it to be placed. If we come around here though, we have a couple of little stands, a big clock in the center of town. This is the Church of St. Michael here. So we have a couple of pews with a little pulpit. Pretty cool place. We can go down Main Street and you can see that there is a barber surgeon. We have Le Coeur Saignant. We have our little, not little, we have a big kind of tavern and inn thing. This is like the biggest building we have in town. The special of the day is stew, hot bread, and cheese. We come around here, we have a little bakery shop where they do cakes and pastries, a bookstore, an art gallery. This is one of 2 art galleries in the world. I'm seeing some S tiers, Can't wait for the interior video. Did you terraform the whole thing or was there an island there before? There was an island. You can see it in some places, but I did terraform it as well. You see like the empty spaces is because there's like a bit of a gap between my planning out and the actual buildings. If we follow down, there's like a cobbler and a mender, somebody who just kind of fixes clothes. There is a blacksmith, a bounty board, a grocery store. There is a flower market, which I think is really nice, kind of pretty quaint. There is a restaurant here specializing in soup and stew, and we have a clockmaker. There's also a wooden furniture place, a guy who does meat, and a candle place. So yeah, we have a ton of shops in this area. Almost every house is a shop, basically, except for 1 or 2. We also have some nice green spaces, some little gardens and stuff, mostly belonging to the kind of monastery cathedral complex, which I think is really cool. We also have a bunch of these little statues. This is a big pilgrimage site. I think everybody so far has said S tier, basically. So I think this is probably going to be the highest ranked thing that we've done so far, for sure. And then finally, behind the church here, this is a post office. I just want to show that off real quick. Come in here, we have a little chicken in a cage. We have our slots for like sending people stuff, a little clock on the wall, and this is for bigger packages. And I love the red roof we have in here. Right, so you come up here, a little bit of construction going on, but you can come through this gate, come through this kind of protected area. You go through the cloister. That goes down to like some bones and stuff, but you can come up here, around, and finally you get to the Church of the Martyrs, into this big space with a colorful roof. I never quite figured out how to make the interior walls colorful, because it's hard to have like tapestries and stuff in Minecraft. But yeah, it is a really cool place. and I got rid of the book. My bad. One of the coolest for sure when you are exploring. So here we go. I think Saunaville, I think this is our easiest S tier so far. And I think this is the highest ranked one we've done, which is funny because it was right after the lowest ranked one we've done. Certified epic. All right. So why don't we kick it into something really different, which is after this place, I took a bit of a break for a while again, and I kind of started thinking about like Pokemon and video games and RPGs and stuff. And that's when I built New Getem. New Getem has never been one of the really popular builds on this channel, but I like it. I like it for what it is. I think it has a really unique vibe in the world, and it feels really compact, like a little Pokemon village. So yeah, coming in here, we have a couple of ships with this kind of red and birch design. This one is called the MRS Constellation. This one does not have a name. We have a very small lighthouse here, and let's just come down for a second. So this is the King's Men Inn and Board. So we have this little kind of tavern area in here. I wanted to go kind of funky with the colors in some places. So we have a lot of like acacia highlights and stuff. That's just for storage for the docks. Over here we have Montoya Swords, which is a reference I'm sure a lot of you get. So we have a little sword making place, a little dummy to test it out on, and this is something I like. So in here, if you go past here, crawl over the bed, you can see where this guy is breaking into the vault under the bank. So we have a pile of diamonds, amethyst, and gold and stuff, and a big vault door, and it's all being bypassed by this guy who has spent years chiseling away behind his bedroom door. Has Pirate Cove been ranked yet? No, it has not. We can rank it after this. Over here we have a jewelry shop with some cool blue lights and some cool vibes. And then over here is the trading hub. This is the New Getem Trading Hub. So this is where people come and I don't want to click that book because I'm afraid I'm going to destroy it again. But yeah, this is where people come and talk business. They trade around, and there's a little locked room here for important goods. If you're like, hey, I'm going to be trading in town, but I don't want to get robbed, you can store your stuff there. So it's a pretty well-respected establishment. Custom cherry tree in the middle here. Around the side, we have Egbert's Tunes. So this is a music shop. You see we have our horns, a couple of discs. We even have a bell. And then back here, we have a selection of what I think are some of the good songs in the game. A lot of people saying A. This is pure S. That's a bit loud. I'm going to stop that. And over here, we just... Whoa. Over here we have a little painter's canvas where they're trying to paint this little river valley. And we have Professor Burke's house. So this guy is an archaeologist. He's a collector of goods and weird stuff. So you can see he's collected like amethyst, dragon egg, turtle eggs, ender stuff, wither skull, some cool sherds. This one's a creeper. This one is a warden. Then over here, he has a little axolotl trapped under the floorboards, which is, I guess, kind of cruel, but I think it's also really cool. It's the only axolotl in Tretogor. Then just got a couple of bedrooms here. Whoops. Ew. Over here we have the bank, which I kind of showed you down here. We also have this area here with the scales for weighing stuff. A little spot for the teller, and then this is an office on this side, and this side is archives and records. This is gonna sound ridiculous, but every book in here is actually, hold on. Every book in here is real. So this is records 81 through 90. And here we have it. It's a bit silly, but yeah, I did actually come in here and do a bunch of books for this place. All right, so let's check the chat. High A for me. How many books have you had to remake? A few. Gotta go in 30 minutes. I trust y'all's rankings. S, low S or high A? Mid A. Not a huge Pokemon fan. This is really detailed. Personally saying B. I saw a few A's, a few S's, and a few B's. So I think that averages out to a classy A tier. How long did it take you to write for the books? Like 10 minutes. I'm gonna put this a little bit under Newport and a little bit over the Swamp Castle. Hadn't been in that building yet. That's sick. Just need dinosaur bones. It'll be an S plus building alone for me. Yeah, I was. That was honestly New Ganon was a fun one because I got to really just ignore the logic of Minecraft and just try to do something that kind of like represents a different video game logic, something completely different. And it's just really cool. It's a really cool, I guess, way to think about things. I will show you guys Cutthroat Cove, which I know isn't going to get an S tier because it's a much smaller build. It's pretty low key, but I came out here. I built this little pirate ship, loosely inspired by the Black Pearl, with a little bit of an anchor down here. If we come up here, you can see somebody is scrubbing the deck with a little pot of. I don't actually know what you scrub a deck with. I'll be honest, guys. Somebody can let me know if you guys know. And then down here, we just have a little space for storage. What you're supposed to do, though, is take a little boat and come around here into this cave. I'm going to boost the brightness again. Hold on. I don't think it needs to be quite that high. We can go like there. So you can still see that it's a bit darker in here. So yeah, we have this big dripstone cave. There are some roots hanging down because we have that big old oak tree. Here you can see a little boat, and we have our pirate booty. A little bit of dynamite, the only dynamite in the world. Somebody said mop a sponge. Oh, I meant like I don't know what you actually put on the sponge or the mop. I guess fresh water, possibly. Over here we have our. It's supposed to be like a crossbones flag, you know, like a big pirate skull. Yeah, so we have a little bar here because pirates like to get drunk, and you just kind of hop over the bar if you want to serve people. Then over here we have some beds. So it's a pretty low tier, low key, probably low tier place too, to be honest. And yeah, it's just one of those little things I wanted to do in the world because I was watching Pirates of the Caribbean with my girlfriend. Cove is an S tier for me. Literally end every vibe session in here pretending I'm a pirate. High A. Boat is a solid C. I don't know. What are we thinking, guys? I feel like if I had to rank this, I would put this probably low C or high D. C, C, B, A. Okay, I'm gonna wait for a couple more comments. I think there's a lot of spread on this one. I wasn't expecting to get so many conflicting opinions. Here, let's pop in. Just see what's happening. So this is our Cutthroat Cove. Down in C tier, we have the temple. I think it is cooler than most of this stuff. The boat isn't my best, I'll be honest. I think it'll probably go above the copper mines. A little bit below Dewberry. Low A. I don't think I could put this in A tier, unfortunately. I don't Pirate Cove Hideout is such a classic. Gotta go perfect middle. Okay, this is highest. Hold on. Highest of C tier is perfect middle. I think this is I think this is a reasonable place to put it. Waiting for people to argue with me. But yeah, I think highest in C tier is where it's gonna go. Hold on, what do we still have to rank? Oh. Okay, I know what we still have to rank. Okay. So why don't we hop over and finally take a look at... I'm not going to do this... Well, I don't know. Let's keep doing this kind of chronologically. It's a good format. I think what we should do is kick it over to Castle Leslie, which is one of my favorite builds. I think Castle Leslie is probably an S tier, but we'll have a discussion. We'll have a discussion. So here we are. Whoops. This is it. This is Castle Leslie. It is kind of a Disney castle in the sense that like it's kind of like fantasy, but it's also kind of, I don't know, like it's a lot of things. I think mostly what it is cool. We go across this little bridge here into this kind of terracotta colored gatehouse. We have our first bailey. We have our kind of outer bailey. We have our central bailey. And then we have our inner bailey over here. This place is huge. It has a population of like 65. You can see we're doing some repairs on the wall. A little bit of maintenance needed from time to time. We have toilets. We have cool little protrusions and balconies and porches and stuff. We have windows. We have a dance hall, like a ballroom. Another little cool outdoor place. A little bit inspired by Kingdom Come Deliverance 1. This was in a kind of weird era where I was trying to use furnaces for my chimneys, which kind of works, kind of doesn't. It's kind of a vibe. I don't know. I still haven't made up my mind on it. I'm getting some S's. I'm getting some S's. Here. So why don't we take a little look inside? And you guys can tell me how you think this compares to the other two S tiers. We have Medina and we have Saunaville. So I want to hear some thoughts. Where should it go in S tier? Because I am down to put this in S tier. Come in here, we have a hitching post, a bit of a construction area. We have our stables, carrot garden, some toilets. This is a little space that's probably going to be a bedroom for someone, but right now it's just being used as an architect's planning area. And this is going to be a fortification, but it's not quite done yet. Over here, this area is where a lot of stuff gets done. So we have some small storage sheds. We have our blacksmith and our kennels and our dog master. This was right when they released the wolves, so I put like one of every wolf in here. It's pretty cool. Also, when I started getting into custom trees, there is a little bathroom back here as well. And the walls are kind of cool because I'm using suspicious gravel throughout for a bit of a darker color than regular gravel. I think this place is great. There's so many wonderful nooks. For instance, this is one of my favorite places in the castle. If you come along this wall from here or from down here, you can get to this little part here that's just behind this house, and it comes into this gatehouse. But there's something about it. There's something about having those little kind of connecting bits that you can't really see, like from almost any angle in the castle. It's not for visuals. It's just purely for vibes, and I just love that. We also have some good storytelling in here, like this one, the headman. So there is somebody here who is a professional executioner, and he kind of has like a sad, boring life. So you come in here, empty table, no decorations, kind of a little outpost or whatever for defense. But yeah, there's no decorations in here. You come up here, there's a dead plant, a toilet, Not much going on. No books in the shelf. And then you get up here, and he has these beautiful banners with this stunning suit of like enameled iron armor and a sword here by the window. And it's like, oh, this is his deal. This is the guy who takes care of his armor and kind of keeps everything to like a mirror polish and just kind of ignores every other part of his life, which I think is like a fun bit of storytelling. There's some other kind of areas like that in this place. Um, I like the little balconies and stuff, all these kind of planters and this kind of empty space that we have, I think is really nice. We come in here, we have this big grand eating area with a grandfather clock. This is the dance hall I was talking about. Pretty snazzy. And up here we have some musical instruments, along with a big old painting. And over here we have our kitchens, nice and eclectic. We have our copper pans hanging. We have our cheeses, we have our steaks, our pies, our cakes, everything going on. We got a bell to let people know when dinner's ready. So yeah. Let's get over to the ranking. Been waiting for Castle Leslie. I think it's an S tier, legendary S, maybe lower than Stoneheart. S tier, S. Layout makes for really cool sight lines. S tier. Can you give some tips on naming things? I think this is probably. I think this. You guys can argue with me in the comments. I think this is probably above Sound of It. Tips on naming things. Steal. I don't know. I stole stuff. I mean, I call this place Leslie because my brother's middle name is Leslie. That's it. Stoneheart is named after a character called Lady Stoneheart from A Song of Ice and Fire. Medina just means city in Arabic. Bexel is just the name of a place in England. Newport was a new build after Marsh Castle, and it was a port, so I called it Newport. Anchorage is called Anchorage because Anchorage means port, and I didn't want to use the word port again. You can just steal. You can steal from yourself. New Gedham. There's a place called Gedham in my like world building stuff. So I was like, okay, well now there's a New Gedham. This is where New Gedham is. So yeah, just steal from yourself and from other people. In all seriousness, though, you do give credit if you're gonna like take stuff. Be aware of where you took stuff from so that you can give credit. Don't like just randomly borrow or whatever, but do take inspiration from wherever you can in life. Newport is a brand of ciggies. It is a brand of ciggies. This is the Tretogor mine. I wanted to put a mine outside of Castle Leslie to explain why they're rich. And I was gonna put a diamond mine, and then I was like, a diamond mine is gonna be crazy to build. I'm not building a diamond mine. So I built a little coal mine inspired by Fallout 76, which is like Appalachia, West Virginia. That's the name. I forgot. I like the ship by Leslie. Thank you. Speaking of credit, most of my ship designs are based on tutorials by Lord Dacker, Lord space Dakr. Great builder, does tons of tutorials for modern stuff, medieval stuff. Love his channel. I suck at building ships, so I mostly took his ship designs and then I changed the pallets around and I changed a couple of the blocks to make it fit what I wanted. That's also why I've never done like a ship showcase in this world because I'm not good at ships. I just, you know. A good A for me. I really like slum areas. I think this place rocks. I think it's probably like a B tier. Really simplistic, really small. Kind of sucks because you're like working in the coal mine all day, but you do get to be in nature, which is nice. And we also have a company store here. This place has a really cool vibe. Hold on. Reduce the brightness a little bit in here. You come in here, there's some pots, probably like alcohol for the workers. We have a chest up here, some chains, a couple of signs dangling down just to kind of fill the space in a really cool way. Crossbow, whatever this is, maybe like a pie tin or something, like for making, I don't know. This always reminds me of like a baking tin for muffins. Got a couple flower pots. I love this kind of like open window design, some shelves, firewood, an old ladder if you want to buy a ladder, and just a little space here. And I like that the general store guy also has a sucky place. Like, he doesn't even have a nice place. Nobody is benefiting from this except for Castle Leslie. Not even the people who work for Castle Leslie directly are benefiting from this place existing. We have some coal, and down here we have a couple of mines. Pretty small. To be honest, I probably could have made the coal mine bigger, but another coal mine here, and then this one is defunct because they didn't hit anything after digging for a while. There's not a lot of builds that can pull off a 2-block build height. A, B, high C. Video compression bad for anyone else? Oh, yeah, it does look like it's being weird right now. For a poorer area, it's an A. Exactly. Okay, guys, so what do we... Let's go back to the ranking. Here's Trebor Mine. Here's what we have in A tier. And I think it feels more like a B tier kind of build. Around like sound of around like the Rosewood Port and Anchorage and stuff. This place is a little sad. Yeah, it is. It is a little sad. But you know, labor exploitation is never fun. Even if it does happen in Minecraft and in real life. A, B. What do we think, guys? I'm kind of hesitant to put it in A, but if I get a lot of A's, high B. High B is fair. What do we think about it compared to like the Rosewood Port for people who saw that ranking? We're thinking kind of above the Ruined Bandit Fort. Okay, so that would be like a lower B tier. That'd be around like here. C. Okay, we can tuck it in here. Kind of middle lower B. Hugalim saying C or B. Agreed with Sithis. Okay, I think a lot of people want it to be around here. So we're keeping a pretty consistent kind of spread. In regard to what's still to come, B tier. I agree. I do think, which is kind of cool because I do think that a lot of the more recent stuff I've been doing is a bit more A tier worthy. I will show another one though that I really like, which is Ross Tillett. Ross Tillett is cool. I wanted to, again, there was like a bit of a plains here, and I wanted to fill the space between over there and Castle Leslie. So I built this pig farming village, and this place is cool because the logic is all really tight. Like that's really what I like about it. Also cattails. I did a bunch of cattails around here, which is cool. But yeah, okay, so we come in here, and the first thing I have to point out is that this house and this house are both pig farmers. So apart from, I mean, I will say, I like the palette. I like the red, white, black. I think that's a classic. And this place is pretty cool. And there's some cool interior stuff. Little toilet. Yeah, there's some cool interior stuff, but mostly I like the logic of this place. So we have 2 pig farmers. Once the pigs get old enough, they are taken to the butcher. So the butcher takes them and kind of, you know, does his work on this little chopping block back here. You can see he's kind of filling up a little pot with not a pot. He's filling up a basket with like offal, like the kind of guts and stuff. After that, he takes it down to here, chucks the remaining bits in the water, and the rest of it is sold in this little shop here, where not shop, I guess, this little kind of space where he's kind of smoking everything to keep it like dried. But yeah, once it's like kind of smoked and cooked, he sells it to the rest of the people. And the skins go to this guy. So this guy is the tanner, and he takes the hides and he kind of mixes them with tannins and human urine and stuff like that, and we get some pig leather. So pig leather we get to sell to Castle Leslie and to everyone else. We take the pig fat and we give it to this guy. So this guy is making candles out of tallow. So taking the pig fat, you can get some pieces of string, dip them in, and make some little candles. Finally, with the kind of pig's blood and stuff, we're giving it to the apothecary. So the apothecary is making potions out of some of the remaining bits of the pigs. So brewing it with some nether wart in this little kind of cauldron here. Taking it back here. I think this is really cool. So we have our kind of like a mixing bowl here, some kind of hopper. Who knows what's happening here, but it's some kind of little apparatus. Got some dried stuff hanging, recipe book, and a little thing here where we're making some potions. If we come back around, this is the apothecary shop. So let's go into the chat and see what's happening. Have you thought about doing anything with your community or multiplayer? I have. I'm considering doing some kind of multiplayer build thing where I would basically like build a city, make a copy of it, and then put the copy on like Discord and let people like download it and build their own interiors, or possibly uh pay $10 and just get a realm for a month and let everybody spend a month making all their interiors, and then we would just have a city that's made up of a bunch of like interiors and buildings that other people did, which could be cool. Okay, so people are saying, hi B. All right, Zenith. See you later. Love this place with the theme with the pigs. A tier, maybe B or C. Love the color palette. Most of the builds are on the white gray color scale. Palette is nice. I think Rosewood Port just pulled off the red brick look better. Fair enough. A, B or A. I love the details with places like this, where you can make a whole town based on a specific resource. Yeah. Okay, Apothecary changed my mind. It's high A. A. Okay. Okay. I do like this place. I think I really like the style of roof I was doing, where it's like this gradient from deep slate to cobbled deep slate to mossy to copper. And I think this place has a cool vibe. Like I love this little ditch here in front of this guy's house. So yeah, let's kick it over to the tier list. Now, if it were up to me, I'd put it somewhere like here, maybe one lower. But I would probably put it around here. Let me know what you guys think. So what do we think about this kind of placement? I think this is about right with what people were saying. And the next place we're going to do after this is, I think, going to be Black Hole Castle. Since we're around this area, we should do Dunlion. Dunlion is like really nearby. I think it'll make more sense to get it out of the way. Mid A is solid. Okay. Newport is definitely higher. Yeah, I think that's fair. I also prefer Newport to this, but I feel like I feel like it's really tight. Like I said, I feel like the logic is really tight. The vibe is really it feels well thought out. I like that everything has like kind of similar palette. Everything is contained within like a really small little area, and it just really works for that reason for me. Plus, we have a cabbage patch or lettuce, whichever. In any case, this is just for feeding to the pigs mostly. The last build in this area is one that I did kind of recently. This was back in September. So if we come through the woods behind Summerton, we can get to Dunlion. Dunlion is a really small place. Basically, I was really burnt out on Regensburg, and I was like, okay, I need a build that I can finish tonight. Like, I want to get on Discord, start a build, finish it, get off Discord. So I got on Discord and I built that castle over there, and then I came back in like the next day and I built a couple of farmhouses. Just to explain where the servants live, but that's about it. So we come in here, we have a couple of really small, kind of patchy fields. I don't know. I wanted to make this place look somewhere between charming and desolate. Like it's kind of a ruined ramshackle place, and you get there and you're like, this is kind of cute and kind of sad too. Like it looks like it's seen better days. I don't know if the people here are really happy. Um, which is I guess kind of an interesting vibe to go for. But yeah, I wanted it to be kind of a mix of both worlds. Back here we just have a little farm happening with some cool herbs that are not super kosher, say. Got a little donkey here. And this is when I started doing my slab beds. So instead of using like real beds, I wanted to make it just look like they're really big beds where the whole kind of everyone who lives in this house just sleeps in the same kind of space. Over here we have the kind of communal oven, which is shared between these guys and the castle. We have a pig pen, or a sheep pen. And over here we have our little heartbreak shard. So I think somebody got their heart broken around here. Like I said, kind of a charming place, kind of a bit sad. We also have a dung heap. So you take the boat over, you just row across the water and get up into this really steep ladder to get to this little castle. Which I feel like it turned out well, even though it's really small. The ladder is kind of hit or miss, but it does technically work. It's not pleasant, but it does work. So we get into here. I'm getting some C tiers. I'm getting some C tiers, which I think is fair. We have this kind of red and cyan palette going on, which I guess I kind of reused in Brewerstown. Can't believe I forgot Brewerstown. Yeah, so we have over here this little kind of dais, not dais, just a little kind of eating area for like the Lord. A couple spots here for like the servants and people, you know. We have some arrow loops, but I don't think anybody's really using them, to be honest. They're more just narrow windows. And then here we have a stack of plates and a barrel. We go down to the basement. You can see that there is a fireplace. Now, okay, now it got dark. See, this is why we had the brightness up. And then in here, behind this locked door, is a prison cell. So somebody asked me in the Discord about building a prison in Tretogor, and the answer is kind of there's a bit of prison cells everywhere. So I don't know. I feel like people mostly take care of it by themselves. But yeah, in here, big old painting, big old bed, couple shelves and stuff, bit of moss and mold around. Like I said, this place has kind of seen better days. And then over here, we just have a toilet. I like Dunlion a lot. I love the look of the steep staircase. But the fact that I know you can't smoothly walk up it docks a little bit. This is a high B, low A, low B, high C, low B, C tier, B. Okay, let's check it out. I think it's probably around here. What do you guys think of that? Sithis, yeah, this is a bit more of a realistic castle design. It's inspired by Ireland and Scotland a little bit, mostly like Irish tower houses, not townhouses. What is this interface where you change the brightness and all? This is part of the Axiom mod. So if I click right alt, whoops, hold on. Sorry, if I click right shift, I can bring up this menu with a ton of like builder features. And if I click left alt, I get this page where I can do like allow me to fly through walls, um, allow me to modify blocks, do no block updates, and over here I can change my brightness. I can change the opacity of water, which is really weird. I haven't done that before. That's weird. Whoa, cool. So yeah, I think people are mostly agreed though that this belongs somewhere around here, kind of this lower B tier end. Why is there cabbage in one of those hot bars? Um, because I like to use player heads to decorate, but I kind of forget where my player heads are. not just forget, like I tend to lose track of them. So if I put it up there, then I'll always have access and I won't accidentally get rid of it, in theory. But yeah, this was done lion. What do we have still to rank? We got a few things around here. I think the next one we should do is Bexel. I know we have some Bexel Patriots in the chat. So if you're a Bexel Patriot, make some noise. But we are going to fly over and see the second desert town in this world. I think it's probably best viewed from the water. Whoops, sorry, frozen. My bad. Okay. Let's fly over. Around the copper mines. Whoa, lag spike. Here we are. So this is it. This is the beautiful city of Bexel. With a pirate ship. Those dang pirates. I see I got some Bexel Patriots. So yeah, Bexel I did in... Bexel I started in about late July, mid-August-ish. And then I finished it in November. Bobert, don't listen to anyone else that's an S tier. Listen, if it gets S, it gets S. If it gets an A or a B, you know, we'll see. I do think this place is great. I will say though, I was recently watching a Fwip live stream, and he was doing his own salt field, and I was like, damn, his looks so much better. Goddamn. That's one of the things about, I guess, doing any kind of art is you'll always run into people doing what you were doing, but you like their version better, and then you just kind of gotta deal with that feeling. I don't know. It's one of those things. Yeah, we have this kind of salt field area. Here's where the workers live. Come in here. This place looks great, by the way, with Seuss shaders, because the light comes through those little pinholes in the grates. Yeah, we come in through here. This is a big kind of salt processing area. Got our barrels and stuff. This is a bit of a break room. Over here we have... I can't believe I left this in. Whoops. I guess that's in the world download now. Yeah, this is a desk for like the guy who runs the place. Got some salt piles out front here, and then just a little hangout spot. A lot of Bexel is built around places where you hang out. You know, it's just a cool vibe. A lot of cool flowers and stuff here. We got cats all around. We got our camels, donkey, camel. We have this guy who's selling dyes here on this little reed woven mat. We have these kind of colorful woolen, these not wool, these colorful like dyed linens and stuff. We have our pumpkins, melons, not pumpkins. Your Bexel video introduced me to your channel. Really cherish this place. That's really nice. I love how you do a salt field. Thank you, Ravens. Now. I watched the video. It's a high S tier. Not that Medina is bad, but I wish it was an A tier because this is so much more deserving of an S tier. And we have the flag of Palau. I don't think anybody in my chat is from Palau. If you are, though, if I ever get somebody from Palau in my chat, feel free to discuss with me the ramifications of using your nation's flag for a Minecraft build. But yeah, this place is the third place where we have the Newport Merchants Guild. Got this lovely gold-colored carpet, gold-colored door. Then back here, we're just bringing in some stuff from Newport. So Newport exports a lot of copper because of the copper mines, so that's part of their whole shtick. And then if we come around into the middle of town, all these houses are decorated. Some cool vibes and stuff. I tried to make them feel kind of somewhere between realistic and cartoony, like. Yeah, and then we come in here, got this big old oak tree. Inspired by Lebanon, not because they're like famous for oak trees or anything, just because there's a picture of me and like a big old tree in Lebanon, which I really like. We have our mosque here with our shoe rack and a little place to wash your feet. Women's side, men's side. and then our little kind of mourning area for people who pass away in Bexel. Over here we have our pottery merchant and our actual like pottery area. So we're collecting our clay from somewhere, probably getting it from Medina, to be honest. And then we're shaping it, putting it out on these little stands to dry, and then once it's dried and cooked, we can store them in here for a while. Or we can store them there first, you know, whichever. Over here we have a little garden that kind of died and failed. And you can compare that to some of the gardens that are still successful and going. Like over, hold on. I know there's gardens somewhere. Yeah, like here on this rooftop. We have our palm trees and our date palms. A little kind of tiered area back here. And then down by the river, we're doing some pretty basic agriculture of sugarcane, melons, and wheat and stuff. Yeah, it's a cool place. We even have a little sugar mill here. So we're grinding up the sugar cane into sugar. So let's see. S tier stream is coming out. The stream coming out of the cave. Chef's kiss. The video you showed this time was my first video, and it's really cool because I love how you made it feel. How you made real life into the game. I'm a decently new viewer. I started watching from the how to connect your builds video. A lot of people did, admittedly. We are getting close to the end here, so of the rankings, I mean, we've been going for 2 hours, doing some good work, doing the Lord's work. I think this place is an S tier. I think that's the vibe I got from this. The question is, where do you guys want this ranked in S tier? Should it be above Medina? I think some people thought it should be. I'm not sure if that's the consensus. Low S. I think lowest in S tier is the vibe I'm getting. Let's see. Anybody got a bone to pick with a low S tier ranking? Raven Snow saying that's a good place. All right. The next one we're gonna do after this is, I think the next one we're gonna do is the battlefield. So we'll zip on over really quickly. I know this place isn't going to be a lot of people's favorite. It's kind of cool. It made more sense at the time, I swear. But yeah, we can fly over here. And this one is also inspired by The Witcher 3. There's a border crossing between the kind of Novigrad area and Velen, which is full of like a kind of gross, mucky battlefield. So I wanted to do that here. You can see that there is this kind of pond here that kind of splits up the terrain in like a really gross way. And we have all of these little heads and skulls and stuff. I tried to make it not too graphic, but it is still a little bit graphic. So I'm not going to linger. Kind of like the bird sounds, I'll be honest, guys. We have all these poppies inspired by Belgium in World War One, because that's a big part of Canadian history, is like the whole poppy fields thing. We have all this kind of like sharp bits of metal and stuff sticking out of the ground. And then up here we see where the camp was, where the kind of Stoneheart guys were camped around this little pond here at the top. And this was the kind of leader's tent. And now it's all kind of gone to, well, you know. I've been there in The Witcher 3. Yeah, definitely A or B. The roses are really not good for my eyes, law, with how bright it is. Yeah, I get it. This area is amazing. I love the battlefield vibe, at least in A. I'm so sad that I associate yellow and black with a warning sign. High C tier, the tree is amazing, but it falls into the category of smaller scale set dressing. I think that's a good point. Yeah. Uh oh yeah, and we have our blood-stained flags from Evergreen and Marsh Castle, uh, other places, Summerton. Yeah, C tier. I think we're getting some C tiers. So let's see. Around C tier, we had like the Pirates Cove. Um, We have the Pirates Cove, the Copper Mines, the Valley of the Kairens. Around B tier, we had Tretogor and the ruined castle. And down here, we had the D tier ones, which were a little bit more, say, simplistic. I do think it's probably a C tier based on where we ranked some of this other stuff. Sebastiano saying really like the battlefield. C tier for me. I like the look, but not how it's integrated into the area. I think that's fair. It just doesn't fit with this area anymore. After I built Regensburg, um, here. So what do we say? Highest in C tier. People good with that? Kind of a high C tier build. Um, I don't even know how to pronounce this username. I'm sorry. EXETRF4NG. Maybe low B, mid B. What do we think, guys? Highest in C tier. I think this is kind of the middle of what people were saying. Nobody really said D. Some people said B, a couple said A. I think C is the best tier for the builds that don't have a lot or just generally empty. That's fair. Second to highest, maybe. Don't mind it. That's a good place. Okay. I think we can leave it around here. I know there were a lot of B tiers. The next one we're gonna rank is. Oh, hold on. Lower than the Cove. Okay, we'll put it lower than Cutthroat Cove. Hold on, I have to backtrack a little bit. Uh, we can talk about this, but I don't have a ranking. Hold on. Okay, I'm missing like 2 places in my ranking, so we'll talk about them, and they'll just won't get a proper one. This one is the Blood Brick Church. I tried to go weird. Again, this is like my kind of weird era around the same time as the Newport sublevel. So I tried to make a gradient that goes from green to red, and I think it kind of turned out well. Like for a mine for a Minecraft gradient that is trying to go from green to red without just turning into brown in the middle, I think it's pretty good, to be honest. We got some good shapes in here, some cool growth. Up there, you can see that we have some kind of like Last of Us style, like mushrooms and stuff all over the place. This place looks cool at night too. If I go like so, whoops. It's got a cool vibe, especially if you have a colored lighting shader and this place just turns really red. Interesting build. That's an A. I love all the colors here. Thank you. Thank you. Um, yeah, I think it's pretty classy. And the road goes through here, actually. So if you want to get to some of the stuff up around there, you got to go through here. For what it is, it's good. I just don't like the general weirdness of it. I get it. The weirdness can be off putting. The color gradient is crazy, mid B for me. Yeah, I wish I had a slot for this. I don't have a picture for it at the moment. And I don't want to go into my files because that's going to be a whole thing. But if we follow this path up a little bit, we can also get to Fort Mostyn. So here it is. This is my log cabin fort. This one's inspired by Red Dead Redemption 2 in my Red Dead 2 era. I think this place is kind of cool. It's pretty small. It's pretty ruined. I'm not sure if I still dig this kind of vibe anymore of like the spruce and the dark oak next to each other. It's a little bit harsh, but I can see that the video is still undergoing some video compression. I'm not sure what that's about. It's weird. I don't know what the deal is. It's not supposed to be like that. Yeah, video issues plaguing this channel as they always are. Yeah, we can come in here. You can see that this place is really ruined. This was somebody's bedroom at one point. Where you see holes in the walls is just because it's rotted away. I'm mentioning it because somebody mentioned in the comments of that video, like, why is there a window here? And I was like, oh, that's not a window. This place is just like gross and rotting. But here we had our canteen and the kitchen right next to it. Over here we had our another defensive tower with a Stoneheart banner down in the basement. Just showing that even though this place is technically under Castle Leslie management now, it was a Stoneheart place. Here we have a pantry where the food has kind of rotten, so whatever vegetation we had has gone to brown, and whatever meat we had has just totally rotten. I remember failing this mission like 4 times. I'm actually talking about like the I don't know. It's like a ruined fort. I can't remember what it's called. It's called like Fort B something. Like it starts with a B. It's like north of. It's north of Saint Denis. But yeah, this place is pretty low key. I think I would probably give it like a B or a C, probably a C tier. And then this one down here was just an armory. That's why there's this little thing here. This used to be a toilet down here, and then it just kind of fell apart. Um, Over here we just have one remaining sword left, probably rusted. You can even see the firewood is rotting; it's turning green. But yeah, I would probably give this place like a C tier. Over there we have the Whaler's Wharf, which I don't want to totally spoil. But what this means is we can now move on to Black Hole and Clarendon, which will be. Oh, hold on. I forgot what we came over here to do. What we came over here to do is rank Moss Wen. Okay, this one we actually have a ranking spot for. So we got to take this one serious. Uh, so like years ago, I built this little thing here just because I thought it'd be cool if the path went through a ruined building. And then the Pale update came out, and it seemed like a cool place to mess around with some of this new Pale moss. So I turned it into this little village where you can see that these kind of walls wrap around into like this little kind of I don't know. I want to say like terrain. I was gonna say terrains because I'm thinking in like French terrain. I don't want to say like backyards, but these kind of just like little fields, sort of. So over here you can see it's kind of overtaken by like moss and pale moss and stuff. This here was a little chapel. So it has a similar floor design to the Blood Brick Church, and you can see where the windows used to be here, 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 and here on both sides. And then up here where the cross used to be, it's been taken over by a creaking heart. So don't come by at night. Yo, more ruins? Yes, sir. Can never have too many ruins. Yeah, I agree. Cool, not a lot going on though. We also have some of these eye, what are these? Eye blooms, eye blossoms, and wither roses. A couple more farmhouses. These are kind of sinking into the swamp. And then over here we had a tower, which is you can see there used to be like a second story here, and it's kind of ruined now. Still good for parkour though. Hold on, hold on. MLG, I made it. First try. First try. Yeah, this place is cool. Yes, Fort Brennan. Thank you, Tom Spring. Fort Brennan. That's what this place was inspired by. Um, cool. Not a lot going on. C or D tier. C though, not a lot happening. Great details, but yeah, pretty simple. I agree. I think I think probably we could pop it in around like very bottom of C because I think it is a little bit more interesting than say like there's just a little bit more going on to me than Greenfield, but maybe it can go down in D around here. I think that's probably a bit more fair to builds like this, which add a little bit more to the world. Right below Pirate Cove. Uh, See, I don't think this is. Sorry, mumbling my words. See, I don't think this is as interesting as a place like the battlefield necessarily, because it just doesn't tell a very compelling story to me. Like the copper mines goes into why Newport has copper roofs, and it goes into how they're like exporting copper to Bexel and all these other places. Whereas this just doesn't have any like there's no. I guess it just doesn't have like a heart to me. Like there's just not much storytelling. Okay, finally we can get over to Black Hole and Clarendon. Um, we can see it just on the horizon there. So this was another place I came in and I built. Originally, the path of the world just ended like right here, and then I built this. So I was like, oh, we're really close to Anchorage, so I can connect it to Anchorage, and then it just became a whole thing. But yeah, you come up here, you get to this castle. I've mentioned it before. This is inspired by the same castle. Sorry, let me rephrase. This castle and Marsh Castle were both inspired by Clegane Keep on the Westeros Craft server. So if any of you have been on the Westeros Craft server, go /warp Clegane Keep, and I think you'll see what I'm talking about. It's not a one for one. It's just mostly about the vibe and like how I did these kind of crenellations and stuff. I think this place is really cool. It has like a really high level of detail compared to some of my other builds, which I think is cool. Trying out some new stuff here, trying out some new methods and techniques. I built this one in an afternoon, which is fun, to get a build done in one day. And yeah, so if we come up here, you'll see there is a little bit of a lookout area where you can see Regensburg. We have our horse stables, a big poop pen where there's a sheep stuck in it. If we come around, we have this little kind of fortified balcony area or patio. And then in here, we have a kind of floor pattern. So we have some swords on the wall, a little eating area with a head seat here, a couple bones for a dog, and a seating area here. We have a library with some shelves. There's only a couple places in the world that use shulker boxes for shelves. It's like here and you get them, and that's basically it. And a little fireplace. We go down to the basement. You'll see there is a tiny, tiny kitchen and a little storage space carved into the kind of mountain here. If we go up, we have this kind of antechamber. Then we have a bedroom here where there's like some clothes hanging. A space here where there is another big bed. Maybe not big. I'd say detailed bed. Here we have a little piece of paper and an ink pot and another little stove just to warm the place. And then we can come out here and there's that little toilet from below. There's a little space up there, but it's just like an armory sort of thing. So let's look back into the chat. I'm a little sad though because I love ruins. I like how it's kind of in the middle. Westeros Craft mentioned. Yes, I love Westeros Craft. Highly recommended to basically anyone. High C or low B, low A, high B, low A, high B, high B. I like the shape a lot, but I don't like the blocks used. That's fair. Getting some mixed stuff here, but I think the average is kind of a high B. You're pretty good at compact interiors. Thank you. It's really fun sometimes to try and just like cram a bunch of stuff into a room. Especially if you've been working on a build where you have to do like a lot of really big stuff. Like that chateau that I showed off earlier, it's almost all really big rooms, and that's going to be kind of a nightmare to make it look appropriately decorated. But why don't we come over here? I was seeing some high Bs. I'd say, what do you guys think if I put it just under the Rosewood Port and just over Marsh Castle, which is how we started? So, Rosewood Port, Black Hole, Marsh Castle, Anchorage, Summerton, Tretogor, Dunlion, Shan Castel. Any complaints in the chat? Think we're good. I like that. I'm okay with that. That's good. Okay. You can see that it's kind of forming a bell curve, which I think is what it should, realistically. I think any good ranking should probably look like some sort of bell curve. Now we can get to Clarendon. Oh, I don't have the Tretogor gate up here either, but we can talk about that too. So this is the last one we're going to talk about before Regensburg. This place is a bit spread out, so it kind of starts around here, but this is the bulk of it. So it's this little town inspired by a small kind of ceramic figurine I have from my dad that I think looks really cool. So I kind of built it in Minecraft and I kind of expanded it into a little style, which I think is really cool. So it kind of bumps up against Regensburg a lot. You can see this one is a bit brighter, but most of these are kind of simple. Again, this place is kind of a little bit similar to Rostillid in the sense that it's all pretty compact. So this guy's a sheep farmer. This guy, I guess not super clear what he does, but he has some turnips and stuff. Everyone has a cellar, and all the cellars are linked up down below. This one here is a butcher, and this one here is a pub. This is a kind of public house, so you can hang out here, drink a couple of ales, and this kind of links back up to this backyard here. And what I was saying about the basements all being connected is every place has a cellar. So this one is brewing ale, sort of like Brewer's Town, but you know, a little bit of a different process. And then if you sneak back here, you'll see that there is this weird little cult-ish meeting place. So we have a white sun on a black field with an ender dragon egg and some skulk and just some weird stuff going on, man. They got a knife here, over there, probably for some kind of blood sacrifice, hand cutting stuff. Like I said, this links up with the butcher's house. So this is underneath the butcher. We have some salt barrels here from Bexel and a little smoker. I'll explain. The smoker is for here so that we can smoke our meats. And it also links up with this cellar down here, which is just being used to store some stuff to feed the sheep. Oh, I want to also mention this castle is part of it too. So the idea is that they built this town or this little village by taking apart pieces of this castle that had kind of fallen down. So there's a little bit more, not more, there's a little bit less stone here than there probably should be because they've been taking away rocks to build their town. Then if you come in here, you can see there's a tree that is kind of blocking out the sun, actually. There was an old fireplace there. And yeah, it's a pretty cool um, Norman style keep. You guys can tell I like this kind of style of tower where you get like these kind of corner towers and then the central square structure. And we even have a sniffer egg up here. Oh, you can technically get up here, by the way, if you really want to. If you guys are ever curious and you want to do this in survival, you can come up here with the vines, hop, skip over some more vines, climb up, 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 up. Whoops. And there you go. That's how you get up here. So let's see what the chat is saying. I love the story behind it. Very sweet place. Super cute. The cult cave is a nice touch. Is this the only place where the houses have basements? No, but it's definitely the place where I thought the most about basements for sure. There are a couple in Newport. Um, There's like one or two in Regensburg along the waterfront. Like those places have basements. But yeah, most places don't really. I'll be honest. A tier for me. AAA, high A, works really well. Okay, guys. You're so good with the little details and storytelling. Well, thank you. The ruin alone is S tier. I think the village is A or B. Okay, so I think what would you guys say if I put it here just behind the swamp castle? Is that around where we're thinking? Taking into account the ruined tower and the kind of cult basement, along with the farming village on the upside. I want to say, I think what one of the things that makes this place really work for me is that the center of town has this really big, obvious cross. So it comes across looking like, oh, it's just like a little like quaint Christian town or whatever, and then you get to the cult stuff underneath it, and that's when you're like, oh, this is a front. Like this is here specifically to show people, like, look, we're not crazy. Just come into our town, come spend your money at the ale house. Maybe above the swamp castle, I think in front of Ross Tillett. Um, okay, so a little bit bumping it up a little bit. Ash Ketchum said villages A or B. Yeah, so I think we're about here. So now we're gonna get to something pretty heavy, which is Regensburg, the biggest place I've ever done by a large margin. I mean, Brewerstown took me like 3, 4 months. Regensburg took me double, and a lot of Brewerstown is like farms and stuff. This place is almost pure interior. Like there's so many houses, there's so many buildings. We do have a couple farms out here, and then we have. I've never really properly showed this off, but we have a tree farm where they are planting a bunch of oak trees and birch trees and stuff. I want to say something. I built Regensburg right before I got into Axiom. So if you guys see a single custom tree around here, know that I put my heart and soul into it because I could not copy paste. I literally had to build everything by hand. And looking at it now, I'm like, oh my god. But yeah, we have over here a kind of tool shed. This is where the workers live. And then here we have a big sawmill. I think this looks cool. I think the red and the black kind of mechanical construction of it is great. You slide the logs along here, and then you get some treated wood basically. You pile these down, you go into town, through here into the canals, then you bring it into here. You park your boat around here, and then they lift your logs into the storage room. After they're in the storage room in this paper factory, they bring them over to here where the logs are crushed in this kind of pulp maker. They take the pulp and they mix it together in here, so they cook it once. Uh, then they put it into the digestion vat. After that, they put it into the bleaching vat. And then once they have something good out of it, they put it into this kind of steamroller sort of looking thing where they turn it into these big long white sheets, and then they turn it into this, which they cut up into little bits. And then once it's in these little bits, it turns into these kind of reams that get packaged into this. Once they're packaged like that, they are then kind of shipped back around through the canals, and they come up into here, which is the newspaper place. So here you can see we're taking our packages of paper, we're putting them here next to our big cases where we keep our letters, put them in here, pull the lever, stamp it down, and then we get newspapers. Once you get your newspapers, they come back around, and then we get to the newspaper stands. So that's why there are newspaper stands in Regensburg. I love this place. Uh, let's check back in the chat. Regensburg, instant S tier. It really is your magnum opus. I think so. I think this has to be an S. Do you think you'll ever build anything bigger? I do. Uh, that's so much story for each building. This is one of the big industries, right? Another one is textiles. So over here we were talking about sheep, right? But you might have noticed there's no like sheep processing stuff. Well, all the wool from Clarendon basically makes it into the city and it ends up at this factory. So this is Thyssen and Sons Co. This is the textile mill. So they take the textiles, they basically um, they make some dyes. So over here you can see where we have some big vats where we are making dye, and we're also polluting. I'll be honest, we're just polluting straight into the river here, unfortunately. Uh, but yeah, we get some fresh water in from there. We are making some dye in vats. Then we are taking our wool, we are treating it, we are hanging it up and dyeing it. Then when it's dyed, we can put it into here for kind of trimming it into shape. Then we have some sewing machines where we are actually making our clothes. So these are not, I don't want to say clothes, but they're making it into what you can make clothes out of. So this is turning raw wool into textiles that look something like this. Or sorry, this is how they come in. This is what's arriving. And then this is what is departing. So here we have some kind of finished textiles. Little factory here. You take this stuff, you load it through here. Whoops, hold on. I have to do this. Onto there, and then it goes throughout the town. Oh, I also wanted to mention about the paper stuff. There's also a bookstore, so this guy does book binding. This is gonna feed into a whole thing. Hold on, we're gonna take a minute for Regensburg because I'm really happy with it. You can hear it in my voice. There is over here. There's Carlisle's. So Carlisle's does it's a clothing store, but they do graduation gowns as well because we're next to the university. Sorry, and you can see if you go upstairs, you can see that here they're sewing those fabrics into finished pieces of clothing. Okay, after we, so this is one place it can end up. The other place it can end up once you get your fabric is it can end up at Vincent Laurier's. So Vincent Laurier is a really upper class tailor shop. Come in here, really bright, really vibrant. We have these wonderful examples using the armor trims and stuff. We have our paintings. And here, everything is made custom to fit. There's nothing pre-made for you. So here's a little changing room where you can try stuff on. And up here we have our bathroom, another big painting, and another office. So that was about paper and textiles. Wheat is also a really big industry. I'll show you guys very, very briefly, I swear. Uh, but out here we have our wheat fields and over there as well. And then this is our wheat processing place. And then the last big industry that I kind of hinted at is the university. So here we are, Blackstream College. If you guys watched my regenerative agriculture video, I filmed it in here. And I also showed this off in a couple of other times. But yeah, we have the university. So this guy does textbooks. This guy makes graduation gowns. Over here, we have the dean of the college. And then around the back, we have this, which is where all the college students get drunk. So this is a really upper class bar. Is this going to be the rest of the stream? No, it's just going to be the next couple minutes until we move on to basically Brewerstown because there's only a couple more things left after this. But yeah, there's a bunch of taverns in town. This one is just the one for the students. So it all kind of fits together. And then lastly, we have the Van Graff estate, which is part of Regensburg as well, which is a big spooky mansion. I love this place. Like I said, I spent 8 months on this, so I could like every single interior for this place is done. Even something like random like this. So come in here and there is an interior. So there's a staircase and there's firewood. because up here we have a little brazier where they're burning wood to keep warm at night. This is where all the factory workers live. So all the people working in the factories, they live here. Um, I mean, there's so much thought and love and care put into it. This one here is a theater. So because there's a theater here, this guy sells wine because it kind of ties in with that industry. This is Mercer Street. So this guy here is a mercer slash draper. So he deals in fabrics. And this one here is a mender. So he will fix your clothes for you. We also have a doctor here because we have a hospital in this building. And over here we have the Surgeons Guild. So there are a bunch of doctors in Regensburg and they're all trained at the university. Anyway, um, to me, this is, hold on. To me, this is the top of S tier. I don't think this is a perfect build, but I think that this is Tretogor at its peak. If you ask me, like, Sir Bobert Ross, what is the best thing in Tretogor? I only have 10 minutes to go look at your world. What should I go look at? I'd say, like, spend 8.5 minutes in Regensburg and then, like, a minute and a half at Castle Leslie. You should make a Regensburg tier. Yeah, I should. But anyway, I think I will have very few people debating me on this placement, even though I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. My channel description for anyone who has ever read it does say mostly medieval builds. Is it still mostly medieval builds? I don't know. It was at the time when I wrote that, but now we're dealing a bit more, like I said, in like some more moderny stuff. Kind of losing my voice a little bit. The next build that we're going to rank is going to be over here. So this is the kind of tall trees Douglas Ranch area. Am I cheating by incorporating the tall trees area? I don't think so. This place is great. I love it. We have birds. We have birds in this place. We have foxes and stuff. We have a waterfall. So if you stand over here, you can see that we have a lovely waterfall in the distance. There's a little campfire going on over there. I built most of these. I did use a little bit of commands to copy paste some of them, but I will say it still took me a lot of effort. They're not perfect, but I do think they're really cool. I do think they're really tall trees. That's why it's called tall trees. And yeah, this place rocks. Uh, to actually get to what this place is called, Douglas Ranch, let's fly back over and get to the ranch itself. So the ranch is this building plus a couple of houses, a shed, and a barn. So coming here, we have the actual farmhouse. This place is mostly inspired by Pronghorn Ranch in Red Dead Redemption 2. So yeah, we have a big old bed, a pot-bellied stove, kind of cooking area, and then this little dining space. Over here we have a log storage for firewood, and we have a toilet. If we fly around, we have corn. This is a New World crop, but this place is inspired by Red Dead Redemption 2, and I had to include corn, non-negotiably. We have some more little chickens here with a couple seeds around. Over here, we can come up into the horse barn with our lovely horses. This place might be tied with Summerton for the quality of horses that it produces, but it's a pretty good place. I would buy a horse from here. And then here we just have a couple areas where you can try to like wrangle the horses, break them in, if you want to saddle up. Here we just have a little shed with some leftover bits. And this is housing for the workers. So a little bit of laundry, toilet. So what do we think, guys? S for me, love the big trees. Mid B, never too crazy about the ranch. Maybe a C. Forest alone S tier, ranch C, even it out in B. I like the logic. What do we think of that, guys? Forest S tier, the ranch C tier, middle it out at B. It's a shame about the pixelation on the live stream. I Don't know what specifically is causing that, but it is unfortunate. B tier, that's fair. B, low B. Okay. I think low B is probably fair. Um, I think I'm gonna put it just below Trebor. I think people were a big fan of Trebor, so I think that's kind of a similar vibe, kind of a decent place to put it, right about here. Still keeping that kind of bell curve. Fair enough. Okay. I'm gonna talk about this very briefly. Thinking about the desert nearby, you should terraform it to look like the Great Plains. I would have to do research into what the Great Plains looks like because I've heard that term a lot, but I don't really know what the Great Plains is like visually. This is the Tretogor Gate. It's really big. Um, this is mostly just me trying out Axiom stuff and trying out something at a huge scale. Uh, I've never built anything at this scale. I never will, but I like the idea that. Pardon. I like the idea that there was something at this scale in the world. Maybe it's not here now, but it's beautiful. I love the pinks and the purples that you kind of get in this. I think it's just great. I think the color palette is lovely. The kind of terraforming, the way it just kind of guides you into this little spot, I think is great. I love this little dark red kind of caravan camp area where they're camped out in this little old farmhouse. And then you come in on the other side, and you get this kind of fallen down building and this tower here that's still standing up. I think it's really cool. I think it's a good vibe. And yeah, I don't have a ranking for this place. I just think it's really cool. I wouldn't put it in S tier because it's just not enough going on. But I would put this in like A tier if it was just me ranking it. Uh oh yeah, and about the single tree. So this is my elm. Sorry, if I open this up again. Never mind. I don't know where my every once in a while my axiom bugs out. But I have a bunch of blueprints. One of them is an elm tree. And what you can do with Axiom is when you paste something down, you can make it at double scale. So every block is just 4 blocks instead. So if you come up close, it looks really weird because there's just like floating grass and stuff, and there's like double half slabs, like here. But the thing is, there's no reason to come up this close. And if I fly back and you look at it from here, it kind of just looks like a normal tree. Um, in this video, I think you mentioned orc raids. Hold on. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit. I don't want to say the word, but I'm getting my ears attacked. Are those fantastical elements something in the world building we'll see later? That's a good question. I don't really have an answer. I like the idea of building something elven. I will say, maybe not orcs. Orcs kind of have an ugly style of architecture, which I don't really want to build ugly stuff on purpose. Building pretty stuff on purpose, though, like elves, that's cool. I might try that at some point. Really dislike how close it is to everything, like tall trees in Regensburg. Kind of get overshadowed by it. D tier. Yeah, I get it. I think if I could redo it, I would probably push it back to like here, maybe. But it's supposed to be the southern border of the world, and it's just one of those things, like, it's in the distance, you know? It just kind of looms. That's one of the things about the big scale. But I get it's not everyone's cup of tea. I will say, I came over here just a couple days ago, and I've been working on this kind of bluegrass plain area that I think is really neat. Using a mix of like warp nylium and nether sprouts and stuff. We have a single tree here, and then I just try to kind of recreate one of those towers. Whoops. So just past that little custom forest, we have a tower in the distance, just kind of winking at us, reminding us that, there are still things south of here. I think the gate is A tier. It doesn't feel too close in comparison with the overall scale of Tretogor. Yeah, Tretogor is always weirdly scaled. Um, it's sort of a wonder of the world. Totally, yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's get to what we've been waiting for a while. Brewerstown. Brewerstown is great. I just did a whole video on Brewerstown, so I'm not going to totally go through it. But if you guys let me know in the chat what kind of buildings or what kind of parts of Brewerstown you want me to focus on, because I know I didn't get to do like all the interiors for Brewerstown. There are parts I focused on more than others. So if there's something you want me to show, I'll show it. But otherwise, I'm just gonna use kind of a light touch here. All this lore building and storytelling. What is the goal? I just enjoy it. I don't think there's like I think Minecraft builds that don't have any kind of logic to them are just boring. Uh, that's kind of what I was talking about with Moss Wen. Like Moss Wen is kind of like you look at it and you're like, okay, it's a ruin, so what? You know, I think builds need a so what. Brewerstown. Oh, well, it's a town. So what? Well, so what is well, they have a big brewing industry and they have like all these hops farms and they have a bathhouse and they have all this and it kind of ties into oh, like people actually kind of live here. Like you could spend your life in Brewerstown. And that is the so what for me is kind of making places feel like they make sense or like they're a place that could reasonably exist. Um, Brewerstown either S or high A. Could be recency bias, but definitely an S S. I love Brewerstown. I mean, there are things that are not perfect about it. I feel like I never quite figured out the fields how they should be shaped. I feel like I've always struggled with fields, but I think this place is lovely. Like I look at a place like this where you just have this little backyard here with the turnip farm, the chicken coop, the little thing of water, and the toilet, and just a little bit of smoke trickling out of a window. And I'm like, oh, this rocks. Like, you come in here, they have some herbs hanging up, some pottery, a little kind of pot by the fire, a basket, a thing of cheese, kind of big tapestry hanging. Come in here, got a couple of beds, chests and stuff, a little shelf, a chair. Sorry, a chair. You know, I think it just great. Like I love this place. You can even see where the smoke is coming up because the wood is a bit darker because it's been kind of tinted. Um, there's all these little animal barns. I went crazy with the custom trees. I mean, there's custom trees like just literally everywhere. I think this place is great. I could have expanded into here. I just didn't have a good idea for it, and I didn't want to start. I didn't want to build them more and more and more. I wanted to kind of cap this off at some point. But yeah, I think this place really turned out cool. Can come down here for all my cave lovers. We can come back into the caves that are down here. You can add new colors to the field with a new dry grass. I agree. I was actually watching the Brewerstown video before this, saw the Discord link. That's cool. I love Brewerstown. Regarding the fields, your stripes go from top to bottom. I recommend instead having more going from left to right to prevent runoff. That's a good idea. I could see that. We have the castle up here. I think Brewerstown is great. Um, I love my white castles. I will say, like, if this was white, it'd be even better. But I wanted to be like, no, we're gonna make something stone colored. We're gonna actually try and make it work. Uh, got this lovely. I mean, I think like this triple kind of Trinity window here with the glass is just lovely. There's a ton of houses I didn't show off in that video, but they're all done. I mean, they're all detailed to different kind of degrees, I guess. Just to say some of them are a bit busier than others. But I know who lives in every house. This house belongs to the minstrel. So this guy has a harp and a horn, kind of show that he's a music player. And it's because up there in the castle, there's a guy with a harp. So this is that guy. This is where he lives. This one here is a knight. So like a man at arms. He's somebody who kind of his trade is, you know, working for the king. So if you come up here, he has a little sword here, and he has an oily rag where he's kind of making sure his sword doesn't rust. Every place here has like some kind of stove on the second story to make sure that the bedrooms are warm at night. And I used glass like on the front of the buildings, but on the side of the buildings in the back, there's like no glass because they want to save money, like they're skimping out. I didn't show in here, but this is the tavern for the place, so pretty bare bones. But yeah, using a lot of sea pickles. Over here, you can see a spilt sea pickle, and there is a dark oak pressure plate here to look like it's like the dark beer that has kind of flowed out and pooled on the table. So that's cool. Yeah, this place rocks. Can you show the hunting camp in the woods? Yeah. Yes. So you come out here, there is this little gate just to keep out like ruffians and whatever, but there's no road here. It just kind of ends. Come in here, you can kind of follow the stream, and coming up here, you get to the hunting camp. So here we have a horse hitched up, and we are kind of slaughtering, not slaughtering, we are dressing an animal. Up here we are cooking. So here you can see it's kind of charred on the outside, still a bit raw on the inside. We have our dogs with our bones. Over here we have a big table with a white tablecloth hanging over it. And we have some plates with steaks and stuff from the animal that we're kind of cooking. Got our pots and bowls and stuff. We have our crossbows, because crossbows make for easier hunting than bows. And over here we have the little the tent, you know, for the guy, the lord. Over here we have some torches on sticks, kind of like tiki torches. And if we come through the woods, you can see that here there is some red grass and an arrow where we just killed an animal. So that's the animal that we dragged off to there. Love the stained glass. Any tips on how to make good stained glass windows? Bottom of S. For stained glass windows, don't spam every color. There's some colors you should avoid, to be honest. Some colors look really good. I will say, magenta is probably the best stained glass color for making stained glass windows. Just in my opinion. You can see I didn't really use any yellow, except for a couple places. Yellow isn't great. Blue is nice. Orange is nice. Green is really good. I don't know. It's kind of subjective, honestly. But yeah, I mean there are some colors I avoided. Hold on, if we look at the glass, like I didn't use any of these. I didn't use brown here. I didn't use lime. Lime can be really bright. Try to go for some of like the darker ones, basically. I love the colorful tent. Thank you. I will probably do more birds in the future. And because you guys have been good and some of you have been here for like 3 hours. Spoilers, this is the next video. I'm not gonna go inside, but yeah, this is what I was working on for a while. Anyway. Wilhelm Thompson, I think the Lord of Brewerstown is probably called Brewer, if I had to guess. But I didn't really decide that. Because I'll just forget. If you ask me like 3 years from now, I'm just gonna forget what it was. So there's kind of no point for me right now. There are some people whose names I remember in this world, like the Van Graff estate. The people who live there are called the Van Graffs. Spicer Hall, the people who live there are called the Spicers. You know, so Brewerstown has even better and more details than Regensburg, in my opinion. Also, very realistic build, so high S tier. Okay, guys, so let's get into the real meat and potatoes of this conversation. Oh, thank you, Sebastiano Di Reviola. Kind of based off of a lot of stuff. A little bit on, if you guys know the Twitter artist Eggman, a little bit based on Eggman, a little bit based on the 1973 Robin Hood movie. Um, Also based on off of Ruthard Palace in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and a little bit based on Raborsh. Or not Raborsh, a little bit based off of the really big one in Kingdom Come Deliverance. Not Trotsky, but you know, the one with the siege. Anyway, the real question is, guys, Brewerstown above or below Regensburg? Van Graff, yeah, Van Graff is a New Vegas reference, but it's also a reference to the painter Van de Graaff. Um, I didn't show it off, but a lot of Regensburg is based off of like Dutch painters, like Bruegel, and I can't remember. It's been like months now at this point, since I did all this stuff. But yeah, above Medina, above high S tier, above. Okay, guys, is this? Oh, hello, we Sonata in the chat. Below Regensburg. Okay, we're looks like it'll be a good while till the new downloads. Okay. The download is probably gonna come after the summer drop for Minecraft. Realistically, I think like say summer drop happens like early July. I think this is probably gonna be then. Like right in time for I don't know. Right below, above, below Regensburg. Regensburg just has more cool areas, smart elevation changes, awesome grandness to it. I feel like Regensburg had more detail than Brewerstown. I don't know, guys. I'm still debating. I mean, recency. I'm kind of biased in both ways because I spent so long on Regensburg, but I I think I might have to give it to Regensburg. I think because there's just more. Like I can talk more about the industries of Regensburg. I can talk more about the class differences in Regensburg. I can talk a little bit more about. I do wish Regensburg was better integrated into the terrain. That's like a really big point for Brewerstown is that Brewerstown like flows beautifully to me. It doesn't feel too close to anything, it doesn't feel too far. It feels like just right. Regensburg may have more detail, but Brewerstown had an outstanding layout, style, and context. See, that's another thing. And on the detail, I know a lot of people argued that the streets. Hold on, I'll show what I mean. So this is the street in Brewerstown. You can see we have like some street carts and stuff. We have a lot of balconies and signs hanging out. Balconies like that one. We have carts and barrels and stuff. A lot of people felt, not a lot of people, some people were telling me that they felt that the Regensburg streets were emptier. Um, Obviously, like this one is kind of empty, but it does have the lampposts though, so I don't know about that. Regensburg also has canals. Brewerstown surroundings make it better. Fair point. Someday Regensburg will be beaten as the best build. Okay. Every build is good. I agree. I don't think I've put a bad thing into this world. There are builds I like more than others. I don't even like Clarendon that much. Clarendon to me feels like a build that kind of I don't want to say outstayed its welcome, but eh. I think Regensburg has a lot of everything, while Brewerstown has one specific focus it portrays perfectly. That's a good point. Regensburg always kind of bothered me with how many different styles it has. Like some of this is kind of Czech, and some of it is more Polish, and some of it is more German, and some of it is more Dutch. And like this, like this building here is more like American style, and this one is more kind of Victorian, American-y, kind of like Atlanta. I don't know. And then the walls are like really kind of fantasy, medievally. Did Ross Tillett get ranked yet? Yes, Ross Tillett was ranked right here, below Newport, but above New Gedham. I think if you build Regensburg today, it'd be better than Brewerstown. I agree. I think Regensburg has a lot of everything. Yeah. Uh, Checks mentioned. Uh, this is the last ranking. It is. We've been going for 3 hours. It's been good. It's been fun, actually. This turned out to be a really good stream, and I'm really happy that everyone participated and got into it. Um, I guess here's the difference. Regensburg feels like it was something super ambitious where parts of it turned out well and parts of it turned out kind of flawed. Whereas Brewerstown feels a bit more like a conservative effort where everything turned out pretty good to me. Um, like for instance, I think like the industrial vibe of Regensburg turned out great, but the terrain turned out too flat to be good. Like it's so hard to get a good screenshot of Regensburg. Trust me, I've tried. Uh, this is one of the good angles for the city, but it you can't make that like your thumbnail for a whole video. People won't click on that. I could go like this, but it's really messy to look at. So like that's one of the things that just didn't quite work out. IMO Brewerstown right below Regensburg. Very fun time exploring. Yeah, it's been a good one. And you guys got to see a sneak peek of the next video, so it's not a total loss. Um, I'm still umming and ahhing about this, but I think probably this is the ranking that I'm gonna go with. I don't think there's anybody who feels like either of these builds should be significantly lower. Like I don't think anybody's gonna be like, actually Regensburg should be a lower A tier. Like I think it is pretty well recognized that these are like the two most interesting things I've done in this world. I think Castle Leslie is great and Sound of It is great, but I think Castle Leslie compared to Brewerstown, I do think Brewerstown is more interesting just because it has so much more around it. Strife, yes, I do have a Discord server. Uh, you can see it in the comment section of most of my videos. There's a link to it. First time I've interacted in a stream chat. It's been a good time. I appreciated everybody turning out. I think this is it. I think this is probably how we're gonna end things. Uh, but it's been a good one. 3 hours is a pretty good time for a stream. I feel like if I go for significantly longer, I might lose my voice because my voice is already kind of hurting. Some B's and C's could be shuffled around a bit. I agree. I think that's fair. I do think it's fair, but I think anytime you're ranking something like this, it's kind of. Hey, I just realized something. Those white concrete blocks, I haven't seen more of them. For people who were here earlier, I'd still just have no idea what those white concrete blocks were. Anyway, Castle Stoneheart, my beloved. Castle Stoneheart is great. Um, Small streams have so much more charm. Glad I was here at least for the last couple builds. This was so fun. We'll definitely return for future streams. Glad to hear it. Would you consider doing Greek? Uh, I tried. Bexel started off kind of Greek inspired, and then I just kind of lost the plot. I'll be honest. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I need to do more like research into like Greek references. Um, Somebody asked a little bit ago, would I do Russian? Kind of the same. I don't have a lot of like Russian references in like video games or movies or anything. I just need to do more research before I feel comfortable and inspired to do it. Thank you for having us. You're very welcome. This was fun. Greek temple builds. Actually, Raven Snow, I don't know if you're in the Discord, but somebody posted a really good Greek temple like this morning or yesterday in the MC screenshots channel. I love the server idea you mentioned. Yeah, it could be cool. And yeah, well, before things fizzle out too much, I'm gonna end things here basically. So thank you very much, everybody. This was a ton of fun. I really appreciate everyone's input. Everyone getting really into the rankings. Um, I will post the results on YouTube in the community tab, and I'll post it on the Discord as well. You should definitely do more streams. I will in the future. Mostly I do building streams. Um, a lot of decorating streams because I can bang out exteriors really quickly. Like doing exteriors is like fine. It's just interiors take a ton of time and then you just get like bogged down for like months just kind of ignoring it. It's a whole thing. But yeah, goodbye everybody. Have a great day.